I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart hammering against my ribs. The screams of the souls trapped in the human yellow banner still echoed in my ears. I remembered the agony, the dark energy of the evil cultivators tearing at my spirit. But as my vision cleared, I wasn't in a nightmare. I was sitting on the bed in my luxury villa in Haicheng. I stared at my hands. They were solid. I was alive. I had actually been reborn. I scrambled for my phone, my fingers trembling as I checked the date. January 20th, 2050, 8 a.m. My breath hitched. There was exactly 1 hour left until the servers opened for Seeking Immortals, the mobile game that would change the world. I didn't hesitate. I opened the App Store and typed in those 4 words. I hit download. In my past life, the world had been in the era of spiritual recovery for 50 years, but most people lacked the talent to cultivate. This game was their only hope. It wasn't just a game. It was a portal to a real cultivation world. Items and cultivation levels gained in the game could be returned to the real world, turning ordinary people into gods. For a world where demons and ghosts were starting to crawl out of the shadows, it was the ultimate treasure chest. The most important part was the pre-launch top-up. You could load your account with cash to boost your character's potential before the game even started. By the time the public realized how vital this was in my previous life, the payment portal had already closed. This time, I wouldn't miss it. My parents were gone, leaving me a massive inheritance. I didn't have time to liquidate my companies, but my personal accounts held over 10 billion yuan. My smile turned cold as I watched the progress bar. With my knowledge and this much money, I held all the cards. Zhou Qiao Qiao. I whispered, her name tasting like poison. Your good days are over. She was my girlfriend, or rather, a master of disguise. She stayed with me only to leech off my resources to build up her own family. In my past life, when the game started returning powers to reality and money became worthless, she tried to leave. But first, she stole a golden cleansing elixir my game character had earned. She used it to skyrocket her talent and joined a powerful player organization. Then, she hunted me down. She sent people to kill my game character and bankrupted my company in the real world. I ended up a penniless fugitive, falling behind everyone else until I died a miserable death. Not this time. The download finished. An elegant ink-wash landscape appeared on my screen. A notification popped up. Asterisk servers open at 9 a.m. Players may view background lore or top up early for mystery rewards. All personal info is encrypted. For large amounts, choose anonymous top-up to prevent real-world tracking. Asterisk. I didn't care about the lore. I knew the secret. The more money you spent now, the higher the talent of your randomly assigned character would be. It was a hidden mechanic for the rich. I linked my bank card and typed in the full amount. My heart raced as the confirmation screen appeared. Are you sure you want to deposit 10,263,572,520 yuan? I hit confirm and selected anonymous top-up. Asterisk success. This account is bound to your identity. Only you can use it. Asterisk. I took a deep breath. With 10 billion yuan, I would be miles ahead of the entire world. I had some time, so I headed downstairs for breakfast. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Zhou Qiao Qiao. Hubby, are you awake? Let's grab Western food for lunch. I'll even come to the office to help you this afternoon, and I have a special reward for you tonight. She attached a photo of herself in revealing clothes, looking innocent yet provocative. I felt a surge of disgust. She was a snake in silk clothing. I didn't even bother arguing. Let's break up. I'm bored of you, I replied. Don't bother coming to the office. It's closed. I blocked her immediately. Then, I sent a message to my company group chat announcing an indefinite holiday for everyone. I had only been working there for a few months since graduation anyway. The professional managers could handle the rest. I could almost imagine her face turning red with rage. She probably thought I was just throwing a tantrum. To her, I was just a rich guy with no cultivation talent, a walking wallet. She had no idea that the world was about to flip upside down. 9 a.m. arrived. Seeking Immortals is now live. Server, Xintian Continent. As I clicked enter, a blinding light shot out from my phone. A 30-inch holographic projection materialized in the air. This feature alone would cause a global sensation today, But the real chaos would start when the first player brought a magical item back to reality. I opened the game menu. The gold ingot icon in the corner was flashing. Top-up portal closed. Account balance: 10,263,572,520 yuan. Non-tradable. Personal use only. I let out a shaky laugh. It was real. Welcome, player. Please draw your character. Talent is random, but influenced by your investment. Asterisk. A single card appeared in the projection, its back facing me. A warning followed. Asterisk initial favorability is 0. Use daily check-ins and intel to build your bond. If your character dies, you can draw another, but their talent will be significantly lower. Please cherish your first character. Asterisk. Then, a golden flash erupted. Asterisk alert. Due to your massive top-up, a hidden reward has been triggered. You may draw 2 additional character cards. Asterisk. The screen flickered, prompting me to choose my starting character. Thanks to my massive top-up, the system guaranteed me a monster-tier talent, the highest possible grade. In my past life, players with prodigy-tier characters became absolute legends, ruling over entire regions. But monster-tier? That was uncharted territory. My future was looking brighter than I ever imagined. My heart hammered against my ribs. My mouth felt dry. I reached out and tapped the 3 cards hovering in the air. They began to spin, blurring into a golden vortex before slowing down to reveal their faces. I stood up so fast my chair nearly flipped. The first was Zhang Taishui, a name I recognized. He was the holy son of the Eastern region's sacred emperor. People always called him mediocre, but the card labeled him as a peerless monster. The guy had been hiding his true strength all along. The second card was just as shocking, but it was the third one that made my skin crawl with excitement. Ling Qingxue. Talent: Great Emperor potential. Physique: 9 Heavens Saint Dao fetus. I didn't hesitate. I tapped her card immediately. Congratulations, player. You have selected Ling Qingxue. The screen zoomed in on her portrait, showing a stunning character model alongside a cute, chibi version of her. Then, the scene shifted. The camera panned through a mountain range, pushing through thick brush to reveal a hidden cave. There she was. Ling Qingxue was slumped in a corner, her face deathly pale. A massive wound tore across her waist. She had applied medicinal powder, but the blood was washing it away faster than it could heal. A status window popped up. Ling Qingxue is critically injured. She will lose consciousness in 20 minutes and be captured by enemies. She had tried to use a hemostatic umbrella, but she'd been scammed by a street vendor. The medicine was diluted and useless. Is this a fake? She gasped, her chest heaving with effort. Cold sweat drenched her brow. I watched the mix of humiliation, anxiety, and sheer defiance play across her face. She tried to stand, her fingers clawing into the dirt, but her legs gave out. I won't give up, she hissed. She was at the end of her rope, crawling on the ground, her fists clenched so tight her knuckles were white. Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She didn't want to look weak, even if there was no one there to see her. She was tough. I like that. Lucky for you. I muttered. You ran into me. A first-time top-up icon flashed on the screen. For a mere 6 yuan, I could buy a grade 5 healing pill. In the game's normal economy, that would cost nearly 4,000. Since I already had billions in my account, I hit buy without blinking. A streak of light flew into the cave. The light faded, leaving a milky white pill floating right in front of her nose. The scent of medicinal herbs filled the air. Ling Qingxue froze, her eyes darting around the cave. Who's there? The system offered me a list of preset responses. Most of them were cringy, like, I am the old man in your ring, or, I am the handsome one. I ignored them. Instead, I looked at the luxury communication option. For 648 yuan, I could unlock permanent, private voice chat. In my last life, I was broke and had to use the system's stupid preset lines. Not this time. I bought the upgrade instantly. The microphone icon on my screen unlocked. I cleared my throat and spoke into the phone, my voice deep and calm. I am a deity passing through this place. I see potential in you. Drink the pill. I mean you no harm. My voice echoed directly in her mind. She hesitated for a split second, then grabbed the pill and swallowed it. She saw the 5 distinct veins on the pill's surface, the mark of grade 5 quality. She knew she had no other choice. It was either trust the voice or die. While she began to refine the medicine, another prompt appeared, asterisk information special. Spend 59 yuan to unlock Ling Qingshue's full dossier, asterisk. I bought it. Now that the top-up portal was closed for everyone else, the only way to get more yuan was through character feedback. Characters earned money in tiny increments, pennies for killing monsters or cents for meditating. It was like those apps that pay you to watch videos. You could earn, but it was a slow crawl. But for me, money was no object. The dossier opened. Name, Ling Qingxue. Age, 20. Realm, Profound Gathering, Stage 1. Physique, 9 Heavens Saint Dao Fetus, unactivated. I stared at the screen. A Saint Dao Fetus was a legendary combination of a saint body and a Dao body. I'd heard of them separately, but together? And the description said she had 8 extra saint origins compared to a normal saint body. This was beyond broken. The biography continued. She was an orphan, raised by a kind grandmother in a small village. She had been a servant disciple at the Skyfire sect, but because her physique was inverted, she consumed massive resources without her cultivation budging an inch. The sect had deemed her a waste and kicked her out. Later, while wandering alone, she accidentally ate a grade 6 poisonous herb. Instead of dying, her cultivation jumped. A passing cultivator named Lu Fangya saw this and took her in as a disciple. I leaned back against my sofa, a grin spreading across my face. The stronger she was, the more rewards I'd get back in the real world. This girl wasn't just a character. She was my ticket to the top of the new world. The more I read about Ling Qingxue, the more my heart sank. That cultivator, Lu Fangya, hadn't saved her out of kindness. He was feeding her high-grade poisons daily, forcing her to endure agonizing torture just to boost her cultivation. He wasn't a teacher. He was using her as a human poison cauldron to breed his venomous insects. When she finally realized his sinister plan, she fled for her life. Now, the Iron Wolf gang, Lu Fangya's thugs, had tracked her down. She was a tragic soul. I shook my head in my living room. With talent that defied the heavens, she should have been a legend. In my past life, I'd never heard of her, which meant she probably died young. A Saint Dao Fetus was a title that should have shaken the entire Xintian continent. I looked at the screen. Ling Qingshue's face brightened. The healing items I'd bought worked. Her wounds vanished, and although her energy was still a bit shaky, she could move again. Thank you, Senior, for your help. I am eternally grateful, she whispered, bowing deeply to the empty air. She never expected anyone to save her in such a desperate moment. A notification popped up. Ling Qingshue's favorability has increased to 35 out of 100. I raised an eyebrow. I'd literally saved her life, and I wasn't even at a passing grade yet, but after reading her bio, I understood. After being betrayed by the master she trusted most, she couldn't bring herself to trust anyone. Not fully. Every character has a different personality, and I'd have to figure out how to crack her shell. Luckily, I had a cheat code, unlimited money. I was going to bury her suspicion under a mountain of gold. I hope you can handle my financial offensive, I muttered with a grin. In the game, Ling Qingshuo waited for a response. When none came, she assumed I had left. She scrambled to the cave entrance, desperate to escape. But as she brushed aside the dead branches, she saw birds circling in the distance. Her face went pale. They were still there. She bolted into the dense forest, but in the blink of an eye, a blur of motion cut her off. You're pretty good at running, a voice growled. A heavy boot slammed into her stomach. The impact sent her flying like a cannonball, snapping branches as she crashed through the brush. She coughed up a mouthful of blood. A man with a scarred face landed nearby, narrowing his eyes at her. Recovering that fast? You must have stolen some high-quality pills from Senior Lu. Ling Qingshuo struggled to her feet, wiping blood from her lip. Her eyes went dark as she looked around. 7 elites from the Iron Wolf gang surrounded her. All of them were in the pulse condensation realm. Worse, the scarred man was Zhang Tao, the vice leader. He was a powerhouse in the vast sea realm. Don't bother trying to fly away, Zhang Tao sneered. Capture her. Be careful, don't let her pull any tricks. Suddenly, a row of prompts flooded my screen. It was time for some superpowers. Asterisk character in danger. Click for a daily check-in to get a random escape item. Asterisk. I ignored that. Daily check-in items were usually trash. Emergency top-up special. Spend $288. Get a grade 5 pear blossom needle for a counterattack. Spend $648. Get a grade 6 puppet bomb to kill everyone on screen. Spend $998. Get a grade 7 Godspeed talisman to escape. Then, I saw the big one. Asterisk super bet special. Spend $3,500 for a random grade 8 plus treasure. Max bet, 1 million. Guaranteed top tier saint weapon. Asterisk. A guaranteed saint weapon? My heart skipped a beat. I knew that once this limited time event ended, these things would cost hundreds of millions, if not more. 1 million yuan was basically free. I didn't hesitate. Clink, clink, clink. The sound of digital gold coins filled the room as 1 million vanished from my balance. I didn't feel a thing except excitement. Asterisk betting 1 million successful. Starting random draw. Asterisk. The screen filled with gold coins that morphed into a misty, glowing card. When it flipped over, the light was so blinding I had to shield my eyes. Asterisk congratulations. You have obtained a supreme Earth-grade weapon, the Enyang Cauldron. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, stunned. An Earth-grade weapon? Those were treasures only held by sects that had produced legendary emperors. And I got one on day one. If this doesn't max out her favorability, nothing will, I said, quickly dragging the item onto Ling Qingxue. Back in the forest, Ling Qingxue watched the thugs closing in. She was ready to die. But then, a soft voice echoed in her mind. Do not panic. A massive cauldron materialized out of thin air, hovering over her head. Scrap metal, one thug yelled, lunging forward with a powerful palm strike. The hit landed, but the cauldron didn't budge. Instead, it roared to life, erupting with a thick, purple mist. When Zhang Tao saw the divine runes shimmering in the fog, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. Purple chi from the east? Imperial runes, he screamed. It's an imperial weapon. The 7 thugs froze, their souls trembling with terror. In this world, purple mist meant only one thing, an emperor's power. Before they could even turn to run, the Enyang Cauldron shuddered. A ripple of sheer pressure exploded outward. Zhang Tao and his men didn't even have time to scream. They were instantly pulverized into bloody mist. Ling Qingxue stared at the cauldron in shock. She felt like she was dreaming. A senior with an imperial weapon had saved her? I smiled at her stunned expression. I pressed the microphone icon on my screen and spoke with a calm, distant tone. I see the hardships you have endured. This weapon shall protect you. Take it quickly, before others arrive to steal it. Ling Qingxue's head spun. Her skin prickled with goosebumps. He was giving it to her. She didn't think she was worth such a treasure. This senior wasn't just helping. He was showing her mercy she'd never known. Senior. Her voice trembled. Her eyes welled up with tears. It wasn't just the relief of surviving or the excitement of the treasure. It was the feeling that, after a lifetime of suffering, someone finally saw her. Someone wanted to protect her. She finally had a place where her heart could rest. Notification: Ling Qingxue's favorability has reached 100. Note: at max favorability, she will not lose points unless you do something horrific. Item feedback chances significantly increased. Perfect. Money really could buy everything. Senior. Ling Qingxue wiped her tears, looking up at the massive cauldron with a lost expression. What should I do now? I pressed the microphone icon again, my voice echoing in her mind with a calm, warm tone. I told her to grab the cauldron. I explained that she could change its size with a thought or store it directly in her sea of consciousness. Ling Qingxue listened intently. To her, my voice sounded pleasant, though it carried a weight she couldn't quite describe. Even though she couldn't see me, she was already imagining a legendary, white-bearded immortal smiling down at her from the heavens. She nodded obediently and reached out to touch a corner of the Enyang Cauldron. The massive artifact instantly shrank. It turned into a fist-sized miniature and settled into her palm. Just as she tucked it away and prepared to bolt, a yellow paper talisman flickered into existence before her eyes. Use this to move faster, I said. It's a 7th grade Godspeed talisman. Ling Qingxue looked at the complex runes on the paper, her heart aching at the sheer value of it. But she knew the cauldron was even more precious. She grabbed the talisman, activated it with a thought, and vanished from the spot in a blur of light. A moment later, she landed on a quiet road. I watched the screen, checking her surroundings. Luckily, she hadn't landed in front of a monster's den. I decided to give her the other items I'd bought. Use these small trinkets for now, I told her. But remember, true cultivation requires your own effort. I couldn't tell her these were the only items I had left. I had to maintain my image as a supreme master. The truth was, this game's top-up system was strange. I couldn't just open a shop and buy whatever I wanted. The option to spend money only appeared when a character faced danger, gained an epiphany, or stumbled upon a lucky break. I had to wait for the prompts. "Thank you, Senior," Ling Qingxue said, her voice thick with gratitude as she tucked the treasures away. She understood my meaning. External tools were just support. She had to rely on herself. Besides, I had already given her a legendary Earthgrade weapon. Only ancient, invincible sects possessed such things. She felt she didn't deserve this much kindness. Back in my room, I took a sip of my wolfberry tea and hit the voice button again. "I see great potential in you. I wish to take you under my wing as my confidant. Are you willing?" This was a classic player tactic. By using the daily check-in items and character intel, I could act like the old man in the ring found in stories. It was the fastest way to earn a character's absolute trust. "You want me as your confidant?" Ling Qingxue was overjoyed. Being chosen by a powerhouse who gave away Earthgrade weapons like candy was a massive opportunity. Then, her tone turned somber. "It would be an honor, but I might be too foolish. I've practiced for 3 years, and I'm still only at the first level of the Qi-gathering realm. I don't know why my progress is so slow, even with resources." She remembered how Lu Fangya had fed her medicine that turned out to be poison. She had thought her body was just broken. She had been in despair, thinking she was just a tool for an evil cultivator. "Why?" I asked, testing her. "Are you afraid I'm just using your special physique too?" The question made her freeze. She stood still for a long time. Then, she looked up at the bright sun and whispered, "My grandmother said there are people who shine on others like the sun. I believe you are that kind of person, Senior. Though, if you hadn't given me that weapon, I might have been a bit more suspicious." She lowered her head, blushing at her own honesty. "I'm sorry, Senior." "You're honest." I laughed, watching the girl on my screen. "There's nothing wrong with being cautious. Let me tell you exactly what your physique is, then you can decide." With her favorability at max, it didn't really matter if she officially became my follower or not. The confidant label was just a way to stay close. I explained everything to her, how she possessed the 9 sacred origins and the rare sacred Tao body. Ling Qingxue's face went pale with shock. Every cultivator knew about sacred bodies, but she never imagined she possessed such a godlike talent. She also saw my sincerity. I didn't have to tell her any of this, yet I did. To her, I was a man of immense character and vision. She bowed deeply toward the empty air. "Qingxue is willing to serve you, Senior." I breathed a sigh of relief. Having max favorability made everything so much easier. With her history of betrayal, earning her trust normally would have taken months. But money changed the game. "Call me young master from now on," I said, leaning into the role. "I will help you prove your Tao and become an empress. But that is not your end. The immortal realm is where you truly belong." "The immortal realm?" Ling Qingxue swallowed hard. She realized she had encountered someone truly terrifying. He talked about making her an empress like it was a simple task. And he didn't sound like an old man. He sounded like a young nobleman. His background must be beyond her imagination. I sipped my tea, satisfied with her reaction. "However, your cultivation is too low. You should find a sacred ground and reveal your physique. It won't be hard for you to join them." The sacred Tao body required a massive amount of resources to grow. Since my ability to spend money was random, it was better for her to join a powerful sect that could feed her development while I provided the high-end support. Plus, I remembered something from my past life. On the 3rd day after the game launched, a player earned a rare, character-binding card by helping their character join a sacred ground. Usually, a player could only bind one character, but this card let you pick a second one. That card had been so valuable, it caused a frenzy online. I checked the time. It was almost noon. I had to hurry if I wanted to bind my second target, Luo Hongxi. In my previous life, Luo Hongxi was the first character I ever bound. She was a girl from the Luo family in Black Rock City. With my help, she rose to power and even found a pill that improved my physical body in the real world. But that bitch Zhou Qiao had stolen it from me. Later, when my company was ruined and I was forced into hiding, Zhou Qiao used her connections to find out I was linked to Luo Hongxi. She hunted her down in the game just to hurt me. Luo Hongxi suffered so much, yet she never blamed me. She spent every day risking her life to find treasures to send to me in the real world, hoping to help me fight back. I had begged Zhou Qiao to let her go, but that heartless woman ignored me and murdered Luo Hongxi in cold blood. Thinking about her made my blood boil. "You bitch," I muttered to the empty room. "Once I rise up, you're the first one I'm cutting down." I thought about binding other characters with better natural talent, but I quickly shook that idea off. With billions of game coins in my pocket, I could force Luo Hongxi's talent to the top myself. She had stayed by my side through so much suffering in my previous life. If I abandoned her now, I would be no better than an animal. Joining a sacred ground was the right move for Ling Qingxue. She nodded softly, her eyes shimmering. I could tell she was moved. Compared to that old hag Lu Fangya, she realized I was the only one truly looking out for her. While others saw her as a tool or a body to be exploited, I was actually planning for her future. She started walking toward a distant city, her steps light and full of hope. "Grandmother, are you watching from heaven?" she whispered with a smile. My luck has finally turned. I watched her through the game interface, but something felt off. She was heading to a sacred ground looking like a beggar. I couldn't have that. I opened the clothing shop and scrolled through the special offers. Suddenly, a notification popped up. Because our favorability was over 90, a hidden benefit had been triggered. No mosaics during outfit changes. I blinked in surprise. In my last life, I had never reached such a high level of intimacy with anyone. Even with Luo Hongxi, I had only hit 82. I scrolled through the tiers. A basic robe was 30 yuan. A tier 5 defensive set was 600. Then I saw the God tier Tycoon package for 128,888 yuan. It was a full set of half-saint gear, dress, undergarments, and boots. It wasn't just armor, it was a statement. I didn't even hesitate. I clicked buy. Then, just to be safe, I grabbed the 8,800 yuan set as a backup. Money meant nothing to me now. "Qingxue," I said, pressing the voice chat button. "You need a new look for the sacred ground. I have placed some clothes in your storage bag." She pulled the items out, and her hands started shaking. The silver boots were etched with faint gold inscriptions, radiating a terrifying pressure. This wasn't just one piece. It was a complete 5-piece half-saint set. "My lord, this is too much," she whispered, looking around nervously. "It is too flashy. Maybe I should just buy something normal?" "Flashy?" I laughed. "With your talent, you are going to be the center of attention anyway. Just wear it. But hurry. You have 1 hour to join a sect. I have other business to attend to." I needed to make sure I didn't miss the window to bind Luo Hongxi before noon. Hearing the deadline, Ling Qingxue sprinted toward the city. She bought information at the Tianji Pavilion and immediately checked into a high-end inn. She needed to wash off the blood and grime before meeting the elders. As she stepped into the bath, her heart started racing. He wouldn't be watching, right? She muttered to herself, blushing. A man of his stature wouldn't do something so vulgar. She was wrong. I was watching every second. As the water cleared away the dirt, her true face emerged. She wasn't the delicate, fragile type. Her features were sharp and heroic, filled with a natural strength. Years of running for her life had sculpted her body perfectly. She had visible abs and a powerful, athletic build. She suddenly froze, biting her lip. Her body went stiff. Her constitution was incredibly sensitive, which was how she had survived for so long. She could feel my gaze. She probably thought I was just inspecting her special physique, so she tried to stay calm and finished drying off. I have to admit, she was stunning. She had a perfect back, a narrow waist, and a silhouette that would make any man lose his mind. Once she activated her saint body, she would be world-shaking. Ling Qingxue put on the silver half-saint dress. It was elegant, ethereal, and screamed power. She knew that walking into a sacred ground looking poor would only invite trouble. With me as her backer, she didn't need to be afraid anymore. When she walked down into the inn lobby, the entire room went silent. The waiters, the manager, and even the passing cultivators stared with their mouths open. A girl in the foundation establishment realm wearing a full set of half-saint gear was unheard of. People assumed she was the daughter of some ancient, hidden family. The manager, who had been indifferent before, practically tripped over himself to bow. "My lady, please forgive my earlier blindness." Ling Qingxue didn't miss a beat. She played the part perfectly. "My flying boat was destroyed," she said coldly. "Find me a carriage. I am going to the Jade Lake Sacred Ground." The manager didn't dare delay. He personally escorted her to a carriage and drove her himself. Within the hour, we arrived at the towering gates of the Jade Lake. The atmosphere there was majestic, filled with spiritual energy. Two female disciples guarding the gate stepped forward. They looked at her expensive clothes, but unlike the commoners in the city, they didn't look intimidated. "Halt," one of them called out. "State your name and business." Ling Qingxue bowed deeply to the guards. "Junior Ling Qingxue is here to pay her respects to the mountain," she said clearly. The older guard looked her up and down. She shook her head. "Your cultivation level is far too low," she said. Then she paused, eyes lingering on the expensive half-saint dress I had bought. "However, the Jade Lake doesn't turn away the sincere. I will give you a chance." She slapped a stone pillar near the gate. Suddenly, a massive white jade staircase behind the entrance began to glow. It stretched 1,000 meters high into the clouds. "That is our world-testing staircase," the guard explained with a faint smile. "Reach the halfway point, and you may join the sacred ground." She was clearly giving Ling Qingxue a chance because of her clothes. A low-level cultivator wearing such high-grade gear usually meant a powerful family background. The guard probably figured Ling Qingxue would try, fail, and leave quietly once she realized how hard it was. Clothes really do make the person. Ling Qingxue looked at the glowing steps and whispered a silent thank you to me. "Young master," she murmured, "I don't think I can make it very far. Should I reveal my hidden physique now?" I didn't respond immediately. I was busy staring at a floating character window. I had pulled up her latest intel. It said she was about to join the Jade Lake, but her 9-heaven saint body would cause such a stir that the sect experts would spend a long time investigating her before letting her in. A long time? I didn't have a long time. If I stayed here too long, the noon deadline would pass. I needed to get to Black Rock City to bind Luo Hongxi before other players flooded the server. "Just start climbing," I told her. I watched the screen intently. In this game, you could trigger hidden top-up prompts by interfering with the character's path. Most players couldn't afford it, but for me, it was the fastest way to progress. Ling Qingxue reached the first step. She took a breath and planted her foot. Boom. A massive invisible pressure swept over her. It felt like a mountain had dropped onto her shoulders. Her back bent instantly. Her face turned beet red, and the veins on her forehead began to bulge. "She won't even make the second step," one guard muttered, turning away. The other disciples walking nearby lost interest too. They figured she was just another spoiled rich girl trying her luck. But they didn't see what I saw. A golden notification flashed in front of my eyes. "Special offer. Spend 500,000 to unlock all Saint Body Source Essences for Ling Qingxue. Activate her physique immediately." 500,000. That was nothing. I hit the purchase button without blinking. "Go," I commanded. Inside the game, Ling Qingxue felt a sudden surge of ancient power boiling in her blood. The crushing pressure of the staircase vanished. It felt as light as a feather. My voice echoed in her mind. "Qingxue, I have activated your true potential. Your past suffering was just a light frost. From this day on, all glory belongs to you. Show the world what it means to have the talent of a great emperor." She looked up into the empty air, her eyes shimmering. She couldn't see me, but she could feel my gaze. She saw a faint, snowy white silhouette of a man in her mind's eye, watching over her. A soft, determined smile touched her lips. "As you command, young master." She exploded forward. Ling Qingxue turned into a blur of light. She shot up the stairs like an arrow released from a bow. The wind howled around her. The disciples on the stairs gasped as she tore past them, not even bothering to slow down. "Who is that?" someone screamed. "Look, it's the girl from the gate." In the blink of an eye, she crossed the 500th step. She didn't stop. 600 steps. That was the level of an elite disciple. 650 steps. She was still accelerating. The guards at the bottom froze. Their jaws dropped. The record for her current cultivation level was 695 steps, the mark of a true genius. 700 steps was the threshold for someone destined to become a half-saint. Could she do it? A pillar of pale gold light erupted from the staircase, shooting straight into the sky. She hit 700. But her momentum only grew. Flash. She passed 800 steps. A golden saint aura filled the air. 900 steps. Purple gold divine patterns began to crawl across the jade stairs. The mark of a great saint. "My God!" the disciples screamed, running up the mountain to see the miracle. "I'm witnessing history." Deep inside the sacred ground, the earth began to tremble. The sect's protective array roared to life. From every mountain peak, streaks of light shot into the sky. The elders were coming. "Don't any of you dare touch my new disciple," the Grand Elder roared as she flew through the air. "I am the sect master. I get first pick," another voice boomed. They were too late to be the first ones there. 15 massive phantoms appeared in the sky above the stairs. The saint-level ancestors had been awakened from their meditation. Then, a deep purple light exploded from the staircase. The ancestors' phantoms turned solid with shock. "The talent of a quasi-emperor," someone whispered. The entire sect went silent. This was a once-in-10,000 years miracle. The Jade Lake had just found a treasure. The 15 saints gathered at the top of the stairs, watching Ling Qingxue. She was at 920 steps now. Her sweat soaked her dress. Her steps were heavy, each one sounding like a drum. Beyond the 900th step, the pressure was enough to crush a normal person into dust. One of the old saints narrowed her eyes. "That aura, it feels like a Tao body. But it's different. It's stronger." The current saintess of the Jade Lake possessed an innate Tao body, but even she hadn't climbed this high when she joined. Ling Qingxue's back bent again. She was gasping for air, her muscles screaming for her to quit. The pressure was telling her to give up. Ling Qingxue's face was deathly pale. She reached her limit at step 925. Her breath came in ragged gasps, and her legs shook violently. Part of her wanted to collapse right there and sleep for 1,000 years. But she couldn't. I was watching. She remembered what I told her. She had 1 hour to join the sect. Once she entered those gates, I would be gone. She didn't know when she would see me again, so she wanted to leave me with the best possible image of her strength. The ancestors watching from above were already stunned. To reach this height, with her low cultivation level, was unheard of. They saw her swaying, her body finally giving out. "Little girl, you have done enough," the lead ancestor called out, her voice softening. "The Jade Lake formally accepts you as a disciple." I watched the game screen with a grin. She made it. Suddenly, a notification popped up. I had completed a hidden difficulty mission, being the first player to have a character join a sacred ground. The reward was a rare role-binding card. This was huge. It gave me a second character slot. I tucked it into my inventory, satisfied. "All right, Qingxue," I whispered through the interface. "Don't push yourself anymore. You'll damage your foundation." Qingxue bit her lip. Her eyes grew red. She thought I was disappointed. I wanted her to show the world the posture of a great emperor, but she hadn't even finished the 1,000 steps. To her, it wasn't a lack of talent. It was a lack of effort. She bit the tip of her tongue, the sharp pain fueling a final burst of adrenaline. She forced her foot up. 1 step, 2 steps. The pressure hit her like the sky falling. Her bones popped and groaned under the weight. Then, a blinding golden light exploded from her body. A massive phantom appeared behind her, a figure sitting cross-legged in the starry void, wrapped in the laws of the universe. "A saint body vision," one of the ancestors shrieked. "It's the innate Saint Tao fetus." The crowd went wild. Qingxue didn't stop. She lunged forward, hitting step 990, then 995. With one final, defiant scream, she stepped onto the 1,000th stair. Purple light shot into the heavens. She stood there, hair flying in the wind, bathed in divine radiance. She looked like an invincible empress descending upon the world. She has the potential of an emperor. The shout echoed through the entire sacred ground. The disciples were buzzing. They knew their sect had just secured a future legend. The ancestors didn't care about her low cultivation anymore. They scrambled toward her, arguing over who got to mentor her. But Qingxue didn't look at them. She looked up at the sky and flashed a brilliant smile. "Lord, I did it," she cried out. To her, the praise of 1,000 saints didn't mean a thing compared to my approval. "You were incredible," I said, genuinely impressed. Her will was even stronger than her physique. "Now, this is your moment of glory. I'll be leaving for a while." Her smile froze. "Are you leaving? When will you come back?" She sounded like a lost child. The prestige of the sect meant nothing to her. I was her only source of security. "Focus on your cultivation," I told her. "I'll appear when the time is right. Also, if you find any items in the sect that feel familiar or give you a good feeling, take them. They're useful to me." I needed her to find the feedback items that I could extract into the real world. She didn't understand why, but she promised she would search every corner of the sect for me. I cut the connection. The gaze she felt on her vanished, and she turned her attention back to the saints. She had work to do. She needed to get strong enough to kill the old hag and the Iron Wolf gang. I checked the time. 11:30 a.m. Perfect. I pulled the binding card from my bag and clicked use. I typed in the details for my next target, Luo Hongxi. Location, Black Rock City, Eastern Region. The screen shifted. Qingshue's feed minimized into a small corner, and the main view zoomed into a quiet courtyard in Black Rock City. It was raining lightly. A girl in a green dress was tending to some low-level spirit herbs. She was beautiful, with skin like snow and eyes full of life, though she looked worried. Unlike Qingshue's slender frame, Luo Hongxi was well-endowed. I was used to it from my past life, so I didn't stare. Seeing her face again felt like meeting an old friend. I reached out and tapped the screen. "Long time no see, little bean," I whispered. I clicked the button. Character bound. A notification popped up on my screen, grabbing my attention. I was the first player in the entire world to bind a second character. As a reward, the game handed me a permanent half-off card. From now on, every time a recharge prompt appeared for Luo Hongxi, the price would be slashed by 50%. I grinned. This was a massive win. This little card was going to save me a fortune in the long run. I clicked on the character intel hovering over Luo Hongxi's head. She looked dazed, standing there in her courtyard. I knew exactly why. Her fiancé, Zhang Fenghua, was about to show up to break off their engagement. In this game, character intel refreshes once a day with random events. If a player sees danger coming, they can warn their character to avoid it. It's the ultimate old grandpa simulator. You play the role of the mysterious mentor, guiding them through life to build up their favorability. Luo Hongxi's intel for today was simple. The Zhang family had sent a formal invitation. Their young master, Zhang Fenghua, was coming to discuss the marriage contract their families had made when they were children. Luo Hongxi was confused. She had never even met the guy. She didn't have feelings for him, but she was worried about what her future would look like. What she didn't know was that Zhang Fenghua had recently joined a superpower called the Wentian sect. He was talented, arrogant, and determined to scrub this commoner engagement from his record so it wouldn't ruin his bright future. Seeing his name made my blood boil. Zhang Fenghua. In my past life, after Luo Hongxi rose to power, this hypocrite actually tried to crawl back to her. When she rejected him, he didn't just walk away. He had his family suppress hers, and later, he teamed up with Zhou Qiaoqiao's group to hunt her down. Luo Hongxi died before she ever got the chance to kill him herself. Not this time. A recharge prompt flickered. Intel Special Offer. By Luo Hongxi's full profile for 59 yuan. With my half-off card, it was only 29.50. I bought it instantly. A cute, chibi version of Luo Hongxi's head appeared at the bottom of my screen, standing right next to Ling Qingxue. She looked adorable, staring blankly at the sky. "Just wait," I muttered. "You're about to be furious." I opened her detailed stats. Name, Luo Hongxi. Affiliation, the Luo family of Black Rock City, a second-rate power. Age, 19. Cultivation, third heaven of the great profound realm. Path, alchemy and swordsmanship. Aptitude, mid-grade with spirit root. Occupation, apprentice alchemist. Current status, dazing. The biography confirmed my memory. Her grandfather and the Zhang family patriarch had been best friends. But Zhang Fenghua didn't care about history. He was coming to deliver a letter of divorce in person, publicly shaming the Luo family. He could have handled this privately, but he wanted to make a show of it. There was a high-status female disciple at the Wentian sect who liked him, and he wanted to prove he was completely unattached. He brought a sect deacon with him to make sure the Luo family didn't dare fight back. In the original timeline, Luo Hongshi's father, Luo Qinghe, was so insulted that he tried to protest. The Wentian deacon crushed him with a single glance, leaving him badly injured. The Luo family's reputation was destroyed. I wasn't going to let that happen. I clicked the microphone icon. A luxury voice package cost 324 yuan, but with my discount, it was half that. I didn't hesitate. "Stop daydreaming," I said, my voice projecting directly into her mind. "The Zhang family is coming to break the engagement. You need to think about how to handle it." Luo Hongxi jumped, her eyes darting around the empty courtyard. "Who's there? How do you know that?" "Consider us destined," I replied calmly. "My calculations show that Zhang Fenghua isn't coming for a private chat. He's coming to make sure the whole city knows he's dumping you." Luo Hongxi's eyes widened, a spark of anger lighting up her face. "What? If they do that, my family will never be able to hold their heads up again." She was skeptical for a second. The families had history, after all. Why would they be so cruel? But her doubts vanished when a frantic disciple burst into the courtyard. "Sister Hongxi, it's bad. Zhang Fenghua is here with a deacon from the Wentian sect to cancel the engagement. He actually brought sect muscle to bully them." Luo Hongxi's face went pale, then flushed red with rage. "I don't even want him." She started stomping toward the main hall, but I stopped her. "Wait. If you go in there now, your father will try to protect you. He'll offend the deacon and get himself seriously hurt. The Luo family will be crushed. Is that what you want?" She froze. She knew her father's temper. He would definitely fight for her honor. "Please, senior, tell me what to do." A notification chimed. Luo Hongxi's favorability increased by 20 points. I smiled. In my last life, I spent weeks trying to get her to trust me this much. Now, I just had to mention her dad. "You're the woman in this situation," I said, dropping my voice to sound more authoritative. "The world expects you to be the victim. Don't let them. Go to your study. Write a letter of divorce yourself. You dump him before he can dump you. If you strike first, the deacon won't have an excuse to attack a young girl. The Zhang family won't dare spread the news because being divorced by a girl from a smaller family is a massive embarrassment for them." Luo Hongxi's eyes lit up. "You're right." She turned and ran toward her study, but paused. "Senior, why is he doing this? Did we offend him?" I took a sip of my tea. "There's a phoenix at his sect who has her eye on him. You're just a sparrow standing in the way of his promotion. So he's throwing away our family's friendship for a promotion?" She gritted her teeth. "Fine. If he wants to play dirty, I'll show him no mercy." She grabbed a brush and started writing furiously. Meanwhile, in the Luo family's main hall, the atmosphere was icy. Luo Qinghe, the head of the family, stared at the Zhang family elders. "Does the Zhang family truly care nothing for our history?" he asked, his voice cold. The Zhang family hadn't even sent their patriarch, just some elders and Zhang Fenghua. It was a blatant insult. "Uncle Luo, don't be angry," Zhang Fenghua said, sipping his tea with a smug smile. "We'll compensate you. Here, a 5th-grade spirit-sucking pill. It might even help someone in your family break through to the soul-severing realm." To a second-rate family whose strongest member was only in the vast sea realm, this was a bribe intended to buy their silence while he slapped them in the face. A 5th-grade spirit-sucking pill was a decent treasure, but the atmosphere in the Luo family hall remained suffocatingly heavy. My target, Luo Hongxi, stood among her kin, whose faces were dark with suppressed rage. They knew a single pill couldn't compensate for the public humiliation of a broken engagement. Yet, no one dared to speak up. A deacon from the heaven-asking sect sat right next to Zhang Fenghua, eyes closed in meditation, acting as a silent, terrifying deterrent. Zhang Fenghua didn't care about their glares. He casually tossed a letter of divorce onto the table. When Luo Qinghe, the family head, saw those 2 sharp characters, divorce letter, his fists white-knuckled. He started to rise, but the deacon's eyes snapped open. A wave of raw pressure flooded the room, making Luo Qinghe's heart skip a beat. Just as the tension reached a breaking point, a clear voice sliced through the air. Divorce? Suits me just fine. Luo Hongxi walked into the hall with her head held high. Zhang Fenghua let out a smug laugh, thinking he'd won. I'm glad you understand that a twisted melon isn't sweet, Sister Hongxi. She didn't even look at him. Instead, she bowed deeply to the deacon. Junior Luo Hongxi greets the elder of the heaven-asking sect. The deacon's expression softened slightly. He appreciated her etiquette. But her father, Luo Qinghe, was panicking. He didn't want his daughter's reputation ruined forever. Before he could stop her, Luo Hongxi pulled a second letter from her sleeve and slammed it right on top of Zhang Fenghua's. I'm giving you a divorce letter as well, she said, her voice steady. Our engagement ends today. By my hand. The hall went silent. The Luo family elders wanted to cheer. If both sides issued a divorce, it wasn't a rejection, it was a mutual split. It saved their dignity. The deacon frowned, closing his eyes again. He couldn't really interfere now. The girl had been respectful to him, and this was a clever way to handle a messy situation. But Zhang Fenghua was livid. If word got back to the sect that he'd been divorced by a girl from a small-town family, he'd be the laughingstock of the inner circle. You're quite the joker, Sister Hongxi, Zhang Fenghua sneered. He picked up her letter. With a flick of his fingers, the ink vanished, leaving the paper blank. Look, just a piece of white paper. Zhang Fenghua, you go too far, Luo Hongxi screamed. She had tried to give him a way out that saved everyone's face, but he was hell-bent on trampling her. I've stayed long enough, Zhang Fenghua said, standing up to leave. Farewell. Luo Qinghe tried to block him, but the deacon stood up, his aura blocking the path. Family head Luo, let the juniors handle their own business. It was a blatant display of power over logic. Luo Hongxi grabbed her father's arm, shaking her head. She knew they couldn't win a fight against the heaven-asking sect. Her eyes were full of suppressed fury and helplessness. As a woman in this world, her reputation was everything, and it was being stripped away while she watched. Suddenly, a notification popped up in my vision. Character humiliated. Face-slapping discount event triggered. I smiled. I had been waiting for this. Watching Zhang Fenghua act like a big shot was starting to make me nauseous. I looked at the options. One was a cheap upgrade, but the other caught my eye. Immediate face-slap package. It cost 28,888 credits, half price. It would activate a clear sword heart, talent, and attract the strongest swordsman in the area to take her as a disciple. I didn't hesitate. I bought it and opened my microphone. That kid is annoying, I whispered into her mind. I don't like his face. Today, I'm giving you a gift. Luo Hongxi froze. Senior, boom. An explosion of sword intent erupted from her body, soaring straight through the roof. Her father, standing right next to her, was nearly blown back. He knew his daughter liked swords, but she'd never shown talent like this. Luo Hongxi was stunned. She felt her understanding of the sword reach a level she hadn't dreamed of. Every technique she'd ever practiced suddenly became perfect in her mind. Sword intent, the deacon gasped. He rushed over to her, his eyes shining with greed. A disciple who birthed her own sword intent was a once-in-a-century genius. If he brought her back to the sect, his promotion was guaranteed. Zhang Fenghua's face turned a sickly shade of green. If she was actually a genius, he had just thrown away a goddess for a phoenix who might not even look at him. Luo Hongxi, the deacon said, his voice now dripping with fake kindness. I am Hiyuan. Would you like to join the heaven-asking sect? Forget the divorce letters. We can settle that privately. The Zhang family won't say a word. Luo Hongxi looked down, her heart racing. Senior, I don't want to go with him. Can you help me? Please. I checked her stats. Her favorability toward me had jumped to 70. That's the power of spending money. Don't worry, I told her. Your sword intent was loud enough to wake the dead. Someone better is coming. Right as I finished speaking, a woman with snow-white hair and a black robe appeared in the center of the hall. The air grew cold, sharp as a blade. This disciple belongs to me, the woman said. Her voice was like ice. Who dares? Hiyuan started to bark, but when he saw her face, he immediately dropped into a 90-degree bow. Elder Lin of the Heavenly Ice Sword Sect. This junior greets you. The Heavenly Eye Sword Sect. A superpower. Luo Qinghe and the others nearly fainted. They all bowed in unison, trembling. In the world of cultivation, the Heaven-asking sect was a hill, but the Heavenly Eye Sword Sect was a mountain that touched the stars. And their most legendary elder had just arrived for Luo Hongxi. The Heavenly Eye Sword Sect was a different breed. Most superpowers relied on ancient heritage, but these guys were famous for one thing: raw, terrifying combat power. Every member was a sword cultivator. They didn't just fight, they destroyed. While they lacked the deep history of the sacred emperor clans, rumor had it their hidden ancestor was a saint-level sword cultivator. In this world, that made them untouchable. The woman standing before us was Elder Lin Sheng. She was one of their strongest, a master of the Tianyi realm. To a low-level cultivator, she was basically a god. Luo Hongxi stared at her, eyes sparkling like a fan meeting her favorite idol. She had heard the legends of Lin Sheng her entire life. Now, the legend was standing right there, looking at her with a soft, rare smile. Lin Sheng knew a treasure when she saw one. A girl with a clear sword heart was the perfect disciple for her sect. "Would you like to be my disciple?" Lin Sheng asked. The room went silent. The Zhang family and the Luo elders looked like they had been slapped. Direct discipleship? Just like that? Zhang Fenghua looked like he wanted to vomit from regret. He blamed the Luo family for hiding her talent. If he had known, he never would have brought those divorce papers. He was a disciple of a superpower too, but he was just a face in the crowd. His mentor didn't even breathe the same air as someone like Lin Sheng. He had thrown away a winning lottery ticket and set it on fire. Luo Hongxi was so excited her face turned bright red. I decided to tease her a little through our mental link. "So, now that you have a famous master, are you going to forget about me?" Luo Hongxi jumped, her eyes wide with panic. Senior, don't say that. I wouldn't dare. You're my greatest benefactor. Just watch, I'll handle Zhang Fenghua right now. She turned to Zhang Fenghua, who was still standing there with a pathetic, awkward expression. "What are you looking at?" she snapped. "Today, I'm the one divorcing you." The Luo family elders were internally screaming. Girl, sign the papers with the elder first. Don't lose the chance. Lin Sheng wasn't offended. In fact, she seemed amused. Once she heard the full story from the family head, she waved her hand, manifesting a brush and paper. She handed them to Luo Hongxi with a cold glance at the crowd. "Write whatever you want," Lin Sheng said. "I want to see if anyone dares to utter a single word of protest." "Thank you, master." Luo Hongxi grinned. She took the brush and started writing with a flourish. Lin Sheng watched her with pure satisfaction. In the world of swords, talent had levels. The highest was the innate sword fetus, people born as living weapons. Second was the heavenly sword body. Third was the clear sword heart. While it didn't offer the raw power of the higher tiers, its comprehension speed was insane. Lin Sheng had the same talent, which was why she felt such a connection to the girl. A moment later, Luo Hongxi finished. She flicked the paper at Zhang Fenghua's face. "Take it. I, Luo Hongxi, am divorcing you. From this day on, the Zhang and Luo families have nothing to do with each other." With the Heavenly Eye Sword sect backing her, she didn't need to be polite anymore. Zhang Fenghua's face turned various shades of purple. If he went back to his sect with a divorce paper from a girl he tried to dump, he'd be the laughingstock of the province. But he didn't dare fight back. He caught the paper and forced a fake, pained smile. "Hongxi, please don't be angry," he stammered. "I'll come back another day to apologize properly." He was trying to leave a door open. He figured if he acted sincere later, he could trick this simple girl into falling for him again. He couldn't let a future powerhouse slip through his fingers. "No need," Luo Hongxi said, turning her back on him. "Get out." Left with no choice, Zhang Fenghua and the others scurried away like beaten dogs. Even the deacon from the heaven-asking sect realized he was outclassed and made a quick exit. Lin Sheng looked at her new disciple. "If you're ready, we should head back to the sect." Luo Hongxi looked at her father, her eyes softening. She was a homebody at heart, but Lin Sheng didn't rush her. She waited patiently for the goodbyes before taking the girl's hand and leaping into the sky. Mid-flight, Lin Sheng stopped. She looked at Luo Hongxi with confusion. "Wait, Hongxi, you have a perfect wood spirit root?" Why is your cultivation level so low? Did it just activate when your sword talent awakened? Luo Hongxi blinked, looking just as confused. I don't know. I guess so. In her head, she was screaming for me. Senior? Senior, are you there? Did you do this? She knew it had to be me. A perfect spirit root didn't just appear out of nowhere. She was dying to know why a powerful being like me was helping her so much. Back in the real world, I was just sitting in my villa. My food delivery from a 5-star hotel had just arrived, and I was starving. I glanced at the screen. Her favorability had hit 85. It's just fate, I replied to her. And since you asked, I do need something. If you find any interesting items or ancient tools during your travels, collect them for me. Luo Hongxi nodded subtly, so her master wouldn't notice. I understand, Senior. I'll find the best things for you, I promise. Good. I'm heading out for a bit then. Wait, she thought, sounding almost desperate. When will you come back? She didn't want me to leave. Without me, her family would have been humiliated, and her life would have been ruined. In a very short time, I had become the most important person in her world. I'll be around, I said. Just focus on your training. And don't forget my items. I watched her on the screen, biting her lip with a determined look on her face. It was almost cute. In my past life, Luo Hongxi was known for being simple and cheerful. Her motto was that since life is short, you might as well be happy. But later, after enduring countless tragedies, that smile had vanished. This time, I was going to make sure it stayed. I logged off and started eating. It was time to fuel up before the next move. I hopped online to check the pulse of the world. It was absolute chaos. Every short video, every headline, and every corner of the internet was screaming about Seek immortality. It was exactly like my past life. The game had become the center of the universe overnight. The headlines were everywhere. People called it humanity's second home. In a world where real cultivation resources were scarce, a game that could give you feedback items was a miracle. I saw videos of foreigners praying to their gods, begging for a game based on their own myths instead of Chinese cultivation. It didn't matter. Bookstores were already sold out of cultivation novels as everyone scrambled to understand this new reality. The experts were already talking. Some claimed the game was developed by the heavenly Tao itself to speed up the rise of human cultivators. The hype was reaching a breaking point. One player in China posted a screenshot of a 10,000 yuan recharge, instantly becoming a global celebrity. Big corporations were issuing joint statements, begging the developers to reopen the recharge channels. They were willing to pay 500 times the value just for game currency. Even relationship experts were weighing in, claiming that electronic partners would become the new mental refuge for a lonely generation. Then the official news dropped. The government announced that all martial arts ranks were being replaced by the game's cultivation levels. The era of the warrior was over. The era of the cultivator had begun. Massive clans were already setting up hotlines to recruit players with high-tier talent. I scrolled through the comments. One guy was crying because he was a low-level disciple in a 3 family and missed the chance to recharge and slap his rivals. Another guy was bragging about his digital girlfriend, claiming he'd become a simp king just to power her up. Then there was the guy who ignored the game a week ago and now wanted to sell his house just for one chance to top up. I smiled thinly. They were laughing and joking now, but tomorrow at midnight, the mood would change. That was when the first update would hit. Monsters from the game would begin manifesting in the real world. They would swarm the mountains and eventually raid human cities. Some would even shapeshift to hunt humans from within. Modern weapons would hold them back at first. The Demon Suppression Bureau, a group of elite cultivators recruited by the government over the last 50 years, would step in to keep the peace. But as the monsters grew stronger, the guns would become useless. The world would fracture. Cities would become isolated, fighting for survival in a land that was physically expanding due to the influx of spiritual energy. I needed to be ready. I remembered a specific legend from my past life. There was a 9-tailed fox near Mount Ame with the bloodline of a demon emperor. It was ranked number 1 on the beast list. In my previous life, it had grown too powerful to catch and disappeared into human society. I wanted it, but I was still just a normal man in the real world. A fox with spatial blinking powers wasn't something I could just grab yet. I finished my meal and went upstairs to log back in. The screen showed two icons, Luo Hongxi and Ling Qingxue. Luo Hongxi was busy exploring her new sect, but something else caught my eye. There was a red number 3 hovering over Ling Qingxue's bag. 3 feedback items. My heart raced. The better the character, the faster the rewards. In my past life, it took weeks for a bound character to send me a single pill. I clicked on Ling Qingxue's profile. The screen shifted to her new cultivation cave. She had changed into the white and gold robes of a Jade Lake disciple. She looked elegant, regal, and far more powerful than before. Because of her 9 heavens saint body, she sensed my presence immediately. "Young master, you've come," she said, looking up at the sky with a bright smile. "It looks like they're treating you well," I replied. I noticed she was holding a glowing book, the Jade Lake Earth Sutra. It was a top-tier manual that most players would kill for. I was a little jealous, but I knew that her strength was my strength. "If anyone gives you trouble," I told her, "just let me know. I'll handle it." She stared at the sky, her eyes shimmering with admiration. My words were simple, but to her, they were everything. I told Ling Qingxue that if anyone gave her trouble, I'd handle it. It sounded like a bold boast, but I meant every word. Deep down, she believed me too. She looked visibly moved, her voice dropping to a soft whisper as she thanked me for the opportunities I'd given her. Then, she started to sink toward the floor, intending to perform a full formal kowtow to show her gratitude. Suddenly, a notification popped up. If I bought it, a burst of divine intent would prevent her from kneeling, making it look like I was using my immense power to stop her. Plus, the sect elders wouldn't be able to detect it. It was designed to shock her with my hidden strength. I scoffed. It felt a bit unnecessary, but I reached for the button anyway. Showing a bit of expert flair never hurt when building rapport. But then, my finger paused. A second offer appeared, the Deluxe Flex Bundle for 288 yuan. This one was different. It allowed me to actually reach my hand into the projection and pull her up myself. The description even winked at the realistic touch of a fairy. It also offered a temporary boost to my cultivation level. There was a catch, though. I needed a favorability rating of at least 95 to use it. I was stunned. No wonder favorability was so hard to grind. It actually allowed physical interaction across 2 different worlds. I had to see if it worked. I bought the deluxe package immediately. As Ling Qingxue's knees almost touched the ground, I reached my hand into the glowing projection. The camera angle zoomed in instantly, pulling me right next to her. My hand reached out and firmly grasped her arm. She was wearing thin white silk, and the skin underneath felt incredibly soft and warm. "There is no need for this," I said, my voice echoing in her world. "You possess the Earth Sutra physique now. You shouldn't kneel so easily and damage your inner spirit." "I will do as you say, young master," she murmured. She bit her lip and stood up, her face flushing a deep crimson. I realized then that in my haste, I had grabbed her a bit too high up, right near her underarm. It was an intimate spot to touch, and I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. I felt a wave of awkwardness and quickly shifted my grip down to her forearm. Now that felt right. Her muscles were firm and full of hidden power. This game was incredible. To be able to touch someone in another world felt like a miracle. Ling Qingxue, clearly embarrassed and trying to hide it, quickly changed the subject. She pulled out 3 items. "Young master, I found these 3 things that seem to react to your presence. Are they useful?" I looked at the items hovering in her hands. My heart skipped a beat. The first was a white jade bottle containing 500 milliliters of divine marrow spirit spring. It was a natural treasure that could drastically improve a cultivator's aptitude, roots, and soul. In the hierarchy of treasures, treasure, spirit, supreme, and miracle, this was a mid-tier treasure. Even though the rank seemed low, its effects were more potent than high-level marrow-cleansing pills. The second was an 8th-rank heart-protecting mirror. It had an automatic defense and a reflect effect. Any damage from an enemy below the Dharma image realm would be bounced right back at them. This was exactly the kind of protection I needed in the real world. The third was a 6th-rank heart-nourishing flower, a primary ingredient for high-level pills. It wasn't as immediately useful to me as the others, but it was still valuable. "These are decent little toys," I said, suppressing my excitement. "I'll take them." I clicked the Collect button on the screen. One by one, the items floated out of the phone's projection and materialized on my bed. I opened the jade bottle, and a refreshing mist filled the room. Just breathing it in made my head feel clear, like I'd just chewed a handful of fresh mint. The mirror was small, about the size of my palm, attached to a silk cord. I'm glad they are useful, Ling Qingxue said with a small smile. I haven't even visited the library or the pill hall yet. I'll go look for more things for you soon. In her eyes, a master like me probably didn't lack treasures. After all, I had given her an Earth-grade weapon. She likely thought I just needed these specific items for some high-level cultivation technique. I didn't correct her. It was better if she stayed curious but focused on helping me. Don't push yourself, I told her. If you can't find anything, don't worry about it. I knew from my past life that these feedback items were rare. Even the luckiest players could go weeks without finding one. Getting 3 in one go was a massive win. Go ahead and start your cultivation. I hung up the voice chat. I couldn't wait any longer to try the spirit spring. I went to the kitchen and grabbed a bottle of water. I knew my mortal body couldn't handle the pure essence all at once. I'd probably explode. I poured a single drop of the milky white liquid into the water. The whole bottle turned cloudy instantly. I took a few sips. My body began to feel hot, but it wasn't painful. To be safe, I only drank half and set the rest aside. Almost immediately, black impurities began seeping out of my pores, just like a marrow-cleansing pill would do. After letting my body adjust, I jumped into the shower. I couldn't feel a massive power boost yet, but when I looked in the mirror while drying my hair, I noticed my skin was smoother and my features were sharper. I looked significantly more handsome, like I could win a global beauty pageant without trying. I put the heart-protecting mirror around my neck. As I went to put the other items in my safe, a thought struck me. I didn't have much personal strength yet, but with this mirror, I was basically invincible against lower-level threats. The monsters in the early stages of the awakening weren't that strong. Maybe I could actually go after that 9-tailed sky fox in the Amei Mountains now. If I could tame a beast with an ancient bloodline early on, it would be a massive advantage. Amei wasn't far. I could be there by the afternoon if I took the high-speed train. The game update was scheduled for midnight tomorrow. I needed to move fast. I packed a bag with the heart-nourishing flour, my diluted spirit spring, some power banks, food, and a sturdy survival knife. I headed down and called a ride to the station. When I walked into the waiting hall, I saw a sea of people with their heads tilted back, staring into the air. To an outsider, it looked like a cult meeting, but I knew the truth. Everyone was looking at their private game projections. In this world, we were all just players waiting for the real storm to break. I sat in the train station waiting area, scanning the crowd. Most people around me were motionless, their heads tilted back at odd angles. To a stranger, it looked like a cult meeting, but I knew better. They were all staring at their private game projections. Some people had paid for the high-end Divine Sense voice feature, allowing them to communicate with their characters in total privacy. Most, however, were stuck using the system's clunky, preset auto-replies. I found an empty seat and sat down to wait for my train. Next to me, an old man slapped his thigh in excitement. 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. Don't look down on a poor youth, he shouted, quoting some classic web novel line. He sighed, looking frustrated. What a shame the top-up channel is closed. Otherwise, I'd spend my entire pension to give you a boost, kid. The young man sitting next to him looked exhausted. Dad, have you forgotten you have a heart condition? You've been playing for hours. Just rest. It's not that easy to get items to materialize in the real world. You're better off practicing your martial arts routines to stay healthy. What do you know? The old man adjusted his reading glasses, glaring at his son. If I grind the favorability high enough, the items will come. This game is the future. If you stand your ground and persist, the rewards will be massive. You're young, but all you think about is brute force. You're just a meathead. I stifled a laugh and pulled out my phone. I opened the game and saw the chibi version of Luo Hongxi. She was standing in a plaza, looking bored out of her mind. I tapped the screen, and the world shifted into high-definition reality. She was sitting with a dozen other disciples from the Heaven Eye Sword sect in front of a massive stone monument engraved with the word sword. It looked like some kind of meditation or enlightenment session. A notification popped up, *, heart voice discount, top up 8 yuan, 50% off, to hear the character's inner thoughts. Asterisk. I didn't hesitate. I tapped pay. Immediately, a speech bubble appeared above Luo Hongshi's head. Master is so mean. She just brought me here and told me to meditate. This is so boring. I want to go find treasures for Senior. I wonder when this will end. I looked at her blank expression and almost laughed. Here she was, sitting in front of a sacred sword monument, and her head was filled with nothing but random thoughts. She wasn't meditating at all. I reached for the voice button to tell her to focus, but another series of prompts flooded my screen. Comprehension Boost Special. Top up 468 yuan, 50% off. Increase comprehension to learn a grade 9 sword manual left by ancestors. Comprehension Surge Special. Top up 2,688 yuan, 50% off. Increase real-world comprehension to learn a secret move from the Heaven Eye Sword Saint. Show these swordsmen what a genius looks like. God Tier Exclusive. Top up 398,888 yuan, 50% off. Forcefully defy the heavens. Comprehend the Earth Grade Samsara Sword Scripture hidden deep within the monument. Character will receive a portion of this comprehension in reality. Asterisk. Earth Grade. I didn't even have to think about it. I hit the button. But I wasn't just going to give it to her for free. I needed to keep up the persona. I told you to practice diligently, my voice echoed in her mind. Why are you daydreaming? Luo Hongxi jumped, her face instantly lighting up with joy. Senior, you're here. Then, realizing I had caught her slacking, she hung her head in shame. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. She knew how important this monument was. Only 15 disciples were allowed here each year. It was a sacred treasure the sect ancestors had bled for. But she was so focused on finding items to repay me that she couldn't settle her mind. Are you telling me, I said, my voice softening, that you can't focus because you're too busy worrying about finding items for me? Her face turned red, and she nodded shyly. Yes, I just want to be useful to you sooner. Fine, I replied. Since your heart is pure, I will grant you one more stroke of luck. Suddenly, a hum vibrated through Luo Hongxi's soul. The weathered stone monument in front of her began to change. The cracks and sword marks transformed into dancing symbols, glowing with a purple mist. Sharp sword chi rippled through the air, so intense that the space around the monument began to distort and dissolve. Clear your mind and feel it, I commanded. Don't worry about the items for now. Luo Hongxi's eyes welled with tears. Senior, thank you. She felt like a child being looked after by a father. She couldn't understand why a high-level immortal like me would care so much for a lowly cultivator like her. Even if her ancestors' graves started smoking with luck, she shouldn't have been this blessed. She pushed her gratitude deep into her heart and focused entirely on the symbols swimming before her eyes. As the sword intent radiated from the monument, the other disciples snapped their eyes open. Their meditation was shattered. What incredible sword intent, one gasped. My sword heart is trembling. This must be at least Saint grade. They looked around, trying to find the source. At the back of the group, they saw a girl in a plain green dress. Her eyes were unfocused, her aura perfectly synchronized with the monument. Who is she? She's not wearing a sect uniform. She's only in the profound gathering realm. How is her comprehension this insane? Silence. A gravelly, excited voice whispered in their ears. Focus. If you can catch even a spark of this intent, it will be your own lucky break. The disciples froze. They turned to see an old man standing by the monument. The Sword Saint Ancestor, someone whispered. He's come out of seclusion. The sect leader and several elders landed silently behind the group, bowing to the old man. The Sword Saint, Zhong Hong, ignored them, his eyes fixed on Luo Hongxi. She has the clear sword heart talent, Zhong Hong muttered, his voice filled with awe. To pull a scripture like this out of the stone, a scripture even I find terrifying, the mysteries of the sword Tao truly cannot be measured. He looked at an elder named Lin Sheng. Lin Sheng, you've scouted a remarkable disciple. Lin Sheng bowed deeply, her eyes wide with shock. She had been watching Luo Hongxi earlier and was privately annoyed that the girl was fidgeting like she had ants in her pants. She had been worried the girl was a failure. Now, she realized she was witnessing a miracle. I watched through the interface as Luo Hongxi shifted uncomfortably, her small body twisting as if she couldn't find a good sitting position. I chuckled to myself. 1 second she looked like she had ants in her pants, and the next, she completely froze. She had entered a deep state of enlightenment. She wasn't just meditating. She was triggering a phenomenon that shook the entire Jade Lake sacred ground to its core. The forbidden grounds fell into a deathly silence. Hundreds of disciples were sitting nearby, but they held their breath, suppressing their auras to the absolute limit. No one dared to breathe for fear of disturbing the little girl in the center of the storm. As time ticked by, the sword intent radiating from the stone monument grew terrifying. It surpassed anything the elders, or even the sword saint himself, had expected. In the history of the sect, 10 saint-grade sword scriptures had been unearthed from this monument, but none had ever felt like this. Zongheng, the sword saint, stared with wide, trembling eyes. Centuries ago, she had comprehended a high-tier saint scripture from this very stone. She still remembered that feeling vividly. But compared to the aura coming off the monument now, it wasn't even on the same level. Even as a saint-rank powerhouse, her heart began to race with instinctive fear. Could it be? Zongheng whispered, her voice shaking. A great saint-grade scripture. Lin Sheng and the other elders watched Luo Hongshi's trembling back with pure adrenaline. If it truly was a great saint scripture, this girl's future achievements would dwarf even the ancestor herself. But then, the air changed. A thick, royal purple mist suddenly erupted from Luo Hongshi's small frame. Purple energy surged from the east, flooding the horizon. Everyone gasped, their faces turning pale as they whipped their heads toward the monument. A violent roar shattered the silence. An ancient, supreme pressure descended from the sky, pinning everyone to the earth. From the heart of the stone monument, the purple mist coalesced into the phantom image of an ancient, weathered book. My heart skipped a beat. This wasn't just a scripture. When the phantom book finally revealed itself entirely, a suffocating wave of sword intent swept across the entire heavenly sword sect. Tens of thousands of disciples across the mountain range felt their own swords begin to wail and tremble in their sheaths. 10,000 swords humming in unison. Someone cried out in the distance. What is happening in the forbidden grounds? Has the ancestor reached a new realm? Suddenly, a pillar of purple light shot 30,000 miles into the sky. Within that light, a colossal phantom figure appeared, standing tall between heaven and earth. The figure held a sword and looked down at the world with cold indifference. With just one glance from that phantom, every trembling sword in the sect went silent. It was as if they were bowing to their king. The sword saint, Zongheng, let out a roar of pure, ecstatic shock that echoed through the clouds. I, Zongheng, pay my respects to the reincarnation Sword Emperor. The name hit the crowd like a physical blow. The disciples felt the hair on their arms stand up. Their faces turned beet red with excitement as they screamed at the top of their lungs. The Emperor. We bow to the great Emperor. Some were even moved to tears. To a sword cultivator, there was no higher god than the reincarnation Sword Emperor. 300,000 years ago, he had reached the peak of power at just 300 years old, crushing every genius of his era. He had sacrificed his own life force to slaughter the invaders from beyond the heavens, and later, when the hidden supreme beings of the dark forbidden zones tried to feast on his blood, he burned his very soul to take 10 of them to the grave with him. He had no reincarnation. He had given everything for the world. To see his phantom today was the greatest honor a swordsman could ever receive. The vision lasted only a moment before vanishing into the wind, leaving the entire sect in a dazed silence. Back in the forbidden grounds, the phantom book, the reincarnation sword scripture, dived straight into Luo Hongshi's forehead. She blinked, finally coming back to her senses. When she looked up, she jumped. A massive crowd of old men and women were staring at her like she was a rare treasure. She scrambled to her feet, looking flustered. I'm so sorry. Did I disturb everyone? Zongheng laughed, her voice warm and welcoming. She waved a hand to stop the girl from bowing. No harm done, child. Not at all. She was beaming. This girl was the ultimate resource for the sect's future. With her, the Heavenly Eye Sword sect might actually produce a new emperor. After her master, Lin Sheng, explained exactly what had just happened, Luo Hongshi's eyes went wide. She realized she had just received a miracle. And her first thought wasn't about power or fame. It was about me. Senior, she whispered in her heart. You've been so good to me. I don't even know how to repay you. A notification popped up in my vision. Luo Hongshi's favorability has reached 100. Probability of her returning high-level items has increased. I leaned back in my seat on the high-speed train, feeling a wave of satisfaction. Money really does solve everything. The game had just launched, and I already had 2 top-tier characters completely loyal to me. I pressed the talk button on my interface. Just find me the items I need. That will be payment enough. Luo Hongshi's eyebrows shot up. Senior, you're a young master? She had always imagined me as some ancient, white-bearded hermit living in a cave. She didn't expect me to sound so young. I never said I was old, I replied. I'd gotten used to calling myself this young master back when I was talking to Ling Qingxue, so I just rolled with it. Luo Hongxi bit her lip, a faint blush creeping onto her cheeks. She looked down at her toes, her heart fluttering. Asterisk, he's a young man, and he's been this good to me. Asterisk. She felt a little embarrassed for thinking it, but she couldn't help wondering if I had a special interest in her. After all, why would a godlike figure treat a plain girl like her so well unless there was some connection? Stop it. What am I thinking? She scolded herself. Before she could spiral further, the Sword Saint spoke up. Luo Hongxi, would you be willing to become the sword head of our sect? It's a position above the ordinary disciples, and it will give you unlimited access to our resources. Luo Hongxi panicked, waving her hands frantically. Swordhead? Me? I'm just a beginner. I couldn't possibly lead the other disciples. Zongheng's mouth twitched. If you're a beginner, then the rest of us should just slit our throats right now. Don't worry. You'll still train like a normal disciple, but you'll have the status you deserve. Lin Sheng leaned in, whispering into her ear. Accept it, Hongxi. It's for your own good. If you need anything for your cultivation, pills, weapons, spirit stones, you can just walk into the sect treasury and take them. Normal disciples have to risk their lives on missions just to get a fraction of what you'll have for free. At the mention of the treasury, Luo Hongxi's eyes lit up. If she had access to a whole sect's treasure room, she could finally give me something worth my time. I accept, she said, her voice finally firm. Lin Sheng was right. As the sword head, my bound character Luo Hongxi had the world at her feet. She didn't care much about the status, but the idea of picking whatever she wanted from the sect treasury made her face light up with a genuine smile. She was eager, almost frantic. She wanted to find a treasure for me immediately. The elders laughed, finding her bluntness charming. They figured she was just a small-town girl dazzled by the prospect of high-level loot. Zhong Heng and Lin Sheng personally escorted her to the treasury, a massive structure with 9 floors ranging from common gear to saint-level artifacts. I watched through the game interface as Luo Hongxi browsed. She treated the legendary treasury like a grocery store, scanning rows of priceless artifacts without stopping to admire them. She wasn't looking for power. She was looking for something that felt right for me. My mind drifted to her past life. Back then, she had struggled in a tiny, nameless sect, fighting for every scrap of cultivation resource. Now, she had the wealth of a superpower at her disposal. I couldn't wait to see what kind of feedback item I'd get from this. But as she finished the first floor, she hadn't picked a single thing. Just as she headed for the stairs, she froze. 3 sword disciples were entering the treasury. One of them held a small, silver cone-shaped device. Luo Hongxi felt a sudden, intense pull toward it. That was the sign, a high-affinity item. The disciples bowed to the elders and greeted Luo Hongxi with respect. She bit her lip, looking embarrassed, and pointed at the silver cone. She asked the female disciple if she could have it, even offering to trade something better for it. The girl laughed and handed it over freely. It was just a tier 3 soul-piercing mechanical cone, something she didn't even need. Luo Hongxi took it, but her heart sank. Only tier 3? She felt a wave of guilt wash over her. I had given her a saint-level talent and a legendary cultivation manual, and all she could find to give me back was a piece of scrap metal. She didn't realize that in this game, the quality didn't matter to me as much as the feedback mechanism. She stood there, eyes welling up with tears, feeling useless. She thought she was failing me. I told you. I whispered to the screen. wishing she could hear my thoughts more clearly. Low-level items are fine. They're treasures to me. She sniffled, tucked the item into her storage bag, and took a deep breath. She didn't want the others to see her crying. She assumed I had some secret reason for wanting junk, and she wasn't going to let anyone else in on it. I checked the item description in my inventory. It was a Tier 3 soul-piercing mechanical cone. It fired needles made of spiritual energy that dealt massive damage to a target's soul. Better yet, it automatically absorbed spiritual energy from the environment to reload. It was basically a handgun with infinite ammo. I loved it. I finally had an offensive weapon instead of just relying on my heart-protecting mirror to reflect damage. A voice over the intercom broke my concentration. My train to Manhwa was boarding. I grabbed my bag and left the station restroom. While Luo Hongxi headed to the second floor of the treasury, I navigated the crowd and hopped on the high-speed rail. By the time I reached my hotel near Manhwa, Luo Hongxi still hadn't found a second item. I wasn't disappointed. Getting 4 feedback items right at the start was already a massive win. I settled into my room and studied a map of the scenic area. The game update was set for midnight, and that's when I'd head into the mountains to find the nine-tailed lake. The next morning, I went out to scout the area. I found a secluded trail that led deep into the mountains and decided to wait there for nightfall. While I waited, I checked the local news on my phone. The area was buzzing. People were talking about a player from the Amei sect who had bound a powerful saint-level character and had already been recruited by the government. Everyone was looking for a thigh to cling to. But one conversation caught my ear. A group of tourists nearby were talking about a ghost fox. "I'm telling you, it turns invisible," a middle-aged man said. My friend saw it halfway up the mountain. He even caught a blurry video. I walked over, acting curious. "A ghost fox? Can I see?" The man showed me his phone. The footage was shaky and out of focus. I saw a white blur with what looked like multiple tails darting through the trees before vanishing instantly. Most people thought it was just a bird or a trick of the light, but I knew better. That wasn't invisibility. That was a high-speed flash move. And those tails? That was the nine-tailed sky fox. My heart raced. The fox wasn't a beast that would descend with the update. It was already here, a local spirit beast that had awakened early. This changed things. If I waited until midnight when the other monsters arrived, using the heart-nurturing flower to lure the fox would attract every predator in the forest. If I went now, I could avoid the chaos. I waited until the trail was clear, then ducked into the thick brush. I needed to find a spot deep enough to hide, pull out the flower, and see if I could tempt a legend out of the shadows. I found a suitable spot and pulled the jade box from my backpack. As I slowly opened it, the rich fragrance of the spirit herb drifted out, carried by the breeze into the deep woods. Animals with awakened spirits have incredibly sharp senses. Now, all I had to do was wait. I sat on the ground, wiping the sweat from my forehead. I took a few gulps of spirit spring water, and instantly, a wave of vitality surged through me, washing away the exhaustion. This stuff was amazing for restoring stamina. Then it hit me. The fox had a flash move. If it decided to pull a hit and run, I'd be in trouble. I quickly tucked the jade box into my shirt, clutching it tight, and pulled my mechanical soul-piercing all from the game interface, tucking it into my belt. I was ready for anything. The night grew deeper. The mountain was eerily silent, without even a whisper of wind. Cold, white moonlight bathed the forest, making everything look mysterious and silver. It was past 8 p.m. I scanned the dark trees. If it didn't show up soon, I'd have to wait until the midnight update. I'd been here since the afternoon. So far, no monsters had approached, though a few annoying monkeys had tried throwing stones at me. My heart-protecting mirror reflected the rocks right back at them, teaching them a painful lesson. Nature eventually called. I walked over to a tree I'd used earlier to relieve myself. I'd been drinking a lot of spirit spring water today, and I'd practically dug a hole at the base of the tree with my business. Suddenly, I shivered, nearly splashing my own shoes. There, on a nearby branch, was a snow-white fox. It glowed with a faint, ethereal light. It tilted its head, watching me with clear, curious eyes. It didn't look aggressive. It seemed more interested in the medicinal fragrance coming from my body. But what caught my eye were the tails swaying gently behind it. 2 tails. Finally, it was here. I felt a surge of excitement, but kept my movements slow. I reached into my shirt, tore off a single petal from the heart-nurturing flower, and beckoned it over. Come here, little guy. I've got something for you. As the petal tore, a crystalline sap seeped out, and the fragrance intensified. The flower was high quality, surrounded by a faint spiritual mist. It looked divine. There was no way this little creature could resist. The fox's tails began to wag faster. It was tempted. But just as it moved, I spotted a silent, gray streak of light flying through the air toward the fox's back. Someone was trying to capture it. My eyes narrowed. I hadn't seen any monsters, so this had to be humans. Before I could even shout a warning to gain some favor points, the white fox flashed and vanished. Damn it, a voice hissed. Two figures burst from the brush. They froze when they saw me standing under the tree. The leader was a bald man in a ghillie suit. He squinted at my chest, where the glow of the spirit herb was visible through my shirt. I wondered why that fox ran so far, he said with a smirk. It smelled the treasure in your coat, kid. Looks like we ran into a competitor, brother, the woman beside him said, her eyes wary. They were clearly professionals, sent by some boss to catch the spirit fox. The bald man was sharp. He saw my hand drifting toward my waist and immediately leveled a specialized gray pistol at me. Don't move. Hand over the treasure. The power of this gun is... He didn't finish. He just grinned and pulled the trigger. He wasn't interested in talking. He wanted the loot, and dead men don't talk back. A gray bullet hissed from the suppressed barrel, fast as lightning, heading straight for my head. The bald man expected to see despair on my face. Instead, he saw a mocking smile. The heart-protecting mirror hummed to life. The bullet hit an invisible barrier and snapped back with double the force. It caught the bald man right in the back of his head as he was turning to run. The bullet tore through his skull, killing him instantly. A defensive artifact, the woman gasped. She realized she'd hit a brick wall. Anyone with high-level gear and the means to lure a spirit fox wasn't someone she could mess with. She turned and bolted like a leopard. You think you're getting away? I wasn't about to leave witnesses. I pressed the trigger on my soul-piercing awl. 2 silver needles of spiritual energy cut through the air, burying themselves in her back. A second later, she let out a blood-curdling scream. It sounded like her nerves were being ripped out of her brain. She convulsed, blood leaking from her eyes and ears, and then she went still. You didn't follow the script, I muttered, but my cards are just better. I walked over and put 1 more needle into each body, just to be sure. No reaction. The soul-piercing awl was effective, but the screaming was haunting. Soul attacks are infinitely more painful than physical wounds. I knew that from experience. I'd been trapped in a soul-reaping banner by an old ghost cultivator in my past life. Just thinking about it made me shiver. When that old bastard arrives on Earth, I'll make sure he gets a taste of his own medicine, I thought. I shook off the bad memories and looked around. The fox was gone. Animals are jumpy, and a spirit beast even more so. It probably associated me with the danger now. Even with the flower, it might not come back. But as I turned to grab my backpack, a flash of white caught my eye. It was still there. The fox was peeking out from behind the tree where I'd just peed. It was sniffing the spot at the base of the trunk with its pink nose. Wait, was it attracted to my spiritual waste? I'd been drinking the spirit spring water all day. Hey, don't lick that. I laughed, quickly pulling a fresh bottle of spirit spring water from my bag. I put on my most friendly, harmless smile. Here, I have the real stuff. Drink this. The fox watched me cautiously. I poured a little water into the bottle cap and set it on the ground. You like this, right? I have plenty. Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I put the silver all back into my bag to show I wasn't a threat. The fox crept forward, sniffing the air, and finally began to lap up the water. When it finished, I poured another capful. Take your time. You're lucky today. Nobody else has treats like these. I placed the heart-nurturing petal next to the cap. The fox lunged for it, nibbling the petal while taking sips of the spring water. It looked incredibly satisfied. Under the relentless assault of gourmet spiritual snacks, its guard finally dropped. It flinched a little when I reached out to pet its back, but after a few strokes, it leaned into my hand. Its fur was impossibly soft. I smiled to myself. Those How to Tame Beasts guides I read in my past life were actually paying off. In my previous life, I never had a beast companion, especially not one with a lineage like this. But this time, everything was different. Back in my past life, I was just an ordinary guy. I wouldn't have dared to step foot into those mountains. Even if you had all the money in the world, you couldn't just buy a spirit beast on the black market. By the time I'd actually gained some strength back then, the monsters in the mountains had already evolved into nightmares. Nobody went in unless they had a death wish. I never managed to catch a pet in my previous life, but I had spent years obsessing over online strategy guides. I knew the secret. High-quality spiritual ingredients were the only way to make a spirit beast drop its guard. With my grade 6 heart-nurturing flower and the diluted spirit spring water, I knew this white fox was mine. I waited until the little thing had finished eating. Slowly, I reached out and pulled it into my arms. It squirmed for a second, but it didn't fight me. It was time to seal the deal. I took a deep breath. In this world, signing a contract was simple. You just needed to smear your blood on your phone screen and focus. I reached into my pocket, flicked open my blade, and sliced my finger. I pressed the red stain onto the game interface. Activate Spirit Beast Contract, I whispered. The phone screen glowed with a blinding light. The login screen for Seeker of Immortals flickered, and a star-shaped formation materialized in the air. The white fox tensed up, its eyes fixed on the glowing runes. Don't be nervous, I said, my voice soft and coaxing. Stick with me, and you'll never run out of food like this. The fox was young and couldn't resist the temptation. It licked its lips one last time and pressed its tiny paw against the bloodstained screen. A notification popped up instantly. Asterisk ding. Congratulations. You have contracted a nine-tailed fox cub. Please care for your new companion with all your heart. Asterisk. As soon as the message faded, the fox leaned down and licked the cut on my finger. Its tongue was soft and warm. To my amazement, the wound vanished instantly. Wait, you have healing talents too. I laughed, rubbing its little head. You're incredible. The fox felt my joy and squinted its eyes happily. Let's go. I'm taking you home. The fox let out a tiny yelp and leaped onto my shoulder, settling in perfectly. I packed my things and vanished into the trees, leaving behind nothing but two cold corpses to tell the story of what had happened. The next morning, a black sedan pulled up at the base of Mount Ame. The once bustling tourist street was a ghost town. Shops were shuttered. Trash tumbled across the pavement. A massive warning sign stood at the entrance. Spirit beasts descended at midnight. Mountain zone closed. Enter at your own risk. Inside the car, the driver rolled down the window. Boss, the last signal from the Baldy duo was near here. Should we go in for the gun? In the back seat, a man with dyed yellow hair chewed his gum and rolled his eyes. You really think that gun is what matters? The other three men looked at him, confused. The game update said beasts arrived, but it didn't say what level they are. Yellow hair sneered. I'm only at the 8th level of the spirit initiation realm. If we run into a grade 2 beast, we're dead. The big shot behind the boss is just using our lives to test the waters. The four of them were brothers, and their faces went dark. They couldn't go back empty-handed without facing the boss's wrath, but they weren't suicidal either. Forget this, Yellowhair said, waving a hand. The government is recruiting cultivators for the Demon Suppression Bureau. Let's just go join them instead. It's a better gig anyway. The car peeled away, leaving the mountain behind. Yellowhair glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. He knew the Baldy duo was only slightly weaker than him. If they were killed that fast, something terrifying was lurking in those woods. Meanwhile, I woke up in my hotel room feeling refreshed. I felt a warm weight on my stomach. I smiled and picked up the sleepy white fox. It let out a tiny cry and rubbed its head against my neck before falling back asleep. It was clearly still digesting all that spiritual energy from yesterday. I took a good look at her. Last night, I was too tired to really appreciate what I'd caught. She was beautiful, long eyelashes, a pink nose, and spotless little paws. I couldn't help but poke one of her foot pads. She pulled her leg back and gave me a playful nudge with her head. All right, keep sleeping, I whispered. I grabbed my phone. The update was going to change everything. I logged in and scanned the patch notes. Asterisk update. Spirit beasts from the Xiantian continent have descended into Earth's mountain ranges. Players can now capture and contract them. Furthermore, spiritual energy will now continuously flow from the game into the real world, improving the cultivation environment, asterisk. To most people, this sounded like a dream. But I knew the truth. This improvement was just accelerating the law of the jungle. The world was about to become a very violent place. As I closed the announcement, a familiar pop-up appeared. Asterisk ding. Detected that the player has a contracted spirit beast. Top up 68 yuan to unlock detailed stats. Asterisk. Always after my money, I muttered. But 68 yuan was pocket change now. I paid, and a cute little fox icon appeared next to Luo Hongshi's profile. Name, Nine-Tailed Fox, Earth Grade Bloodline. Gender, Female Realm. Late Stage Grade 2, equivalent to 8th level of Profound Realm. Innate abilities, Space Flicker, Spirit Fox Healing, Size Transformation. My jaw dropped. A Grade 2 beast right at the start? And those abilities were broken. Space Flicker could eventually allow her to cross time and space, and her healing could literally bring people back from the dead. No wonder nobody could catch her in my past life. She could just teleport away and heal whenever she got hurt. I was about to close the menu when another window popped up. Asterisk reminder. Your fox will take human form when she reaches the next major realm. Please prepare clothing for her. Asterisk. Special offer. Chanel Boutique Set. 2,688 yuan. Special offer. Sexy Maid Outfit. 686 yuan. Special offer. Black Silk Stockings. 99 yuan. I stared at the screen, my eye twitching. Are you kidding me? You think I'm an idiot? Even with my wealth, I wasn't buying digital clothes for a fox. I'd just go to the mall and buy real ones. I turned my attention to the two chibi avatars on my screen. Lin Yuan and Luo Hongxi were busy either cultivating or searching for items for me. Unfortunately, their inventory bags were currently empty. No new items had been sent back to me yet. Seeing that the characters were safe, I put my phone down and headed to the bathroom to wash up. As I splashed water on my face, a thought hit me like a bolt of lightning. Wait a second, I muttered, staring at my reflection. When can I start cultivating? I froze. I was an idiot. The excitement of topping up billions of yuan had completely fried my brain. I was a reincarnator. I hadn't forgotten the cultivation techniques from my past life. I didn't need to wait for a game character to send me a manual to get started. I already knew exactly how to draw spiritual energy into my body to temper my bones. I finished washing up in a blur of motion and scrambled onto the bed. I sat cross-legged and began circulating the Spirit Transformation Scroll, a Tier 4 cultivation technique. In my past life, Luo Hongxi had given this to me as a gift. I also remembered a Tier 3 martial art called the Mountain Crushing Punch. It didn't take long. Soon, I felt a faint wisp of spiritual energy inside my body, moving along the paths I directed. It actually worked. I closed my eyes, sinking deep into a meditative state. Under the covers, the white fox poked her head out. She watched me with curious eyes. Her intelligence was high. She had realized I wanted to tame her the night before. If I hadn't tried to warn her when that gray light hit her, she probably would have bolted. But more importantly, the food I gave her was delicious. That was the real reason she stayed. When I finally opened my eyes, the sun was already high in the sky. It was afternoon. My progress was slow because I was still just a mortal, and the spiritual energy in the air was thin. Without spirit stones to boost my progress, breaking through to the spirit induction realm would take forever. I opened the game and sent a voice message to both of my characters. Spirit stones are useful to me. Try to find some if you can. Both Lin Yuan and Luo Hongxi looked a bit surprised. To them, those tiny little stones were so common they usually ignored them. But since I asked, they both nodded and promised to look. It was time to go home. I started packing my bags. Cultivating in a hotel wasn't nearly as safe as being in my own house. I tucked the little fox into my backpack. I decided to take a taxi all the way back. I didn't trust the high-speed rail to handle a pet like her. The little fox looked at me with a pouting, aggrieved face. I poked her nose and laughed. We're going home soon. Just be good. She blinked her big eyes and let out a soft whimper, curling up in the bag. But just as I was about to zip it, a notification popped up on my phone. Asterisk ding. Limited time offer. Spirit Space. Asterisk. Top up 9,999 yuan to unlock a temporary spirit space for your pet. 30 days. Asterisk top up 288,888 yuan to unlock a permanent spirit space. No time limits. Asterisk. Now that is worth it, I muttered. I didn't hesitate. I clicked buy. A flash of light erupted from the phone, and the white fox was sucked right out of the backpack and into the screen. Inside the digital space, the fox started to panic, but a projection of my image appeared in front of her. Stay here for now, my projection said. It'll get us home faster. She calmed down instantly. With the fox secured, I headed downstairs. The hotel was already putting up closed signs. Staff were scurrying around, telling guests to check out immediately. I heard monsters came out of the mountains last night, one guest whispered. If it weren't for the cultivators from the Amaze sect, people would have died. The whole commercial street is shut down, another added. It's not just here, it's the whole country. My husband's lumber mill closed today. He said he needs to focus on cultivation because the mountains are too dangerous now. I walked past them with a faint smile. People were reacting fast. The old era was ending, and a new one was beginning. Soon, industries built around monsters, bounty hunters, monster part traders, specialized blacksmiths would pop up everywhere. Monsters were dangerous, but they were also walking gold mines. Their essence cores were needed for everything from forging to formations. The road home was a nightmare. Traffic was backed up for miles with people fleeing the mountain regions. By the time I finally walked through my front door, it was pitch black outside. Home sweet home, I sighed, collapsing onto the sofa. I released the white fox from the phone. She immediately started sprinting around the living room, energized by the familiar scent of my apartment. I let her play. Being stuck in a digital space must have been boring. I checked the game again and saw 53 red notification dots in my character's inventories. I opened them up, and my eyes widened. 53 spirit stones. They were all low to mid-grade, but at this stage of the game, they were worth a fortune. In the early days, a single low-grade stone could sell for tens of thousands of yuan. Even later, they never dropped below 5,000. I also noticed a single game coin in their purse. These were incredibly hard to earn. Even top-tier characters like mine took days to find just one. I felt a surge of satisfaction. The harder it was for players to earn coins, the bigger my advantage was. The devs had already said the drop rate would never increase. If you didn't top up before the servers officially opened, you missed your chance. That was just fate. I didn't withdraw the stones yet. I didn't have a storage ring, so carrying 50 stones around would be a pain. I'd wait until I reached a higher cultivation level. I clicked on Ling Qingshua's avatar. The screen rippled, showing her sitting on a swing, looking lost in thought. As soon as I arrived, she looked up, her eyes curving into a beautiful smile. "You're here, master," she whispered. I was impressed. Her constitution was so sensitive she could actually feel me watching her through the screen. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. Ling Qingxue swayed gently on the swing. "I'm planning to kill Lu Fangya tomorrow." She wanted to do it herself, but her cultivation wasn't high enough to guarantee a quick kill. If Lu Fangya found out she had joined a sacred ground, she might go into hiding. Ling Qingxue was considering asking a sect elder for help. "What a coincidence," I replied with a smirk. "I'm planning to handle someone tomorrow, too. If I hadn't gotten those items and the fox's teleportation ability, I would have waited. Dealing with my ex, Zhou Qiaoqiao, would usually bring the police to my door. But with the fox's space flicker, I could bypass any mortal security. It was time for Zhou Qiaoqiao to pay her debt. Is someone trying to backstab you, master?" Ling Qingxue asked, her voice turning cold. To her, I was perfect. The idea of someone betraying me was unthinkable. "I'm not exactly a saint," I joked. "It happens." "Then they are blind," she hissed. "They deserve to die. Once you're done, let me know. We should celebrate." She paused, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "But why did they betray you? I'm dying to know." I rolled my eyes. She just wanted the gossip. "Don't worry about grown-up business," I said. "It's just a gold digger being a gold digger. Nothing worth talking about." "I'm not a child." Ling Qingxue pouted, crossing her arms. "Maybe he's only a year or two older than me," Ling Qingxue teased. I knew she was just being playful. There was no way I was actually that young in her eyes. But as we talked, she noticed my gaze lingering on her chest. Her cheeks flushed a deep crimson, and she instinctively pulled back, shrinking into herself. I could almost hear her inner monologue. She was probably worried about being smaller than other women. To hide her embarrassment, she tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear and whispered, "Master, I've hit a few walls in my cultivation. Could you help me understand?" I raised an eyebrow. Her talent was top tier. What could she possibly be stuck on? Then, a familiar chime echoed in my head. Asterisk ding. Guidance discount unlocked. Asterisk. The system offered 3 tiers. For 228 yuan, I could buy elder-level tutoring. For 648, I could get master-level insight to show off my godlike status. But the 8,888 yuan option caught my eye. Personal instruction. It would temporarily boost my own cultivation and allow me to manually guide the spiritual energy through her body to find the perfect path for her sacred body. They were basically forcing me to show off. I didn't hesitate and swiped for the 8,000 yuan special offer. "Of course," I said, my voice calm and steady. "Tell me everything you don't understand." Ling Qingxue was overjoyed. To her, getting personal instruction from me was a dream come true. She hurried back into her secluded cave and began explaining her confusion regarding the Jade Lake manual. Honestly, I didn't understand a word she said. The manual appeared as a blurred mess on my screen. But money solves everything. Once she finished, I acted like it was all beneath me. "The Jade Lake manual is a bit tricky for your current level," I said casually. "I'll guide your energy personally to find the best route for your constitution. Pay attention." She was stunned. She thought I had mastered her sect's secret technique in seconds. To her, my talent was now beyond genius. It was divine. "Thank you, master," she said, bowing deeply before sitting on her bed with an expectant look. Suddenly, her body stiffened. I felt the connection click. On my screen, I placed my hand over her abdomen. Through the interface, she felt a warm, massive hand press against her skin. "I'm going to guide the energy now," I told her. "Focus on the path." Her thin clothes were no match for the heat of my palm. Since the system had boosted my cultivation for this session, the energy transfer was incredibly vivid. I saw her heart rate spike. She was clearly flustered, but she tried to tell herself to stay calm and focus on the cultivation. As I moved my hand, guiding the light through her meridians, she realized the path I was taking was much smoother than her own. The energy flowed without resistance. In the world of cultivation, speed is power. But then things got a little awkward. The system interface turned into something like a rhythm game. I had to follow glowing points of light on her body, tracing circles and patterns. I realized my hand was moving into sensitive areas. Ling Qingshue's ears were bright red. She kept her eyes shut tight, her lips trembling. "Qingxue, focus," I said softly, trying to sound like a professional teacher. "Don't overthink it." She bit her lip and whispered, "Please proceed, master. I understand." She clearly thought I was too high-level to be doing this for cheap thrills. In her mind, a man of my status could have any woman he wanted. Why would I bother teasing a lowly cultivator like her? But as my hand continued to trace the complex spiritual paths, she couldn't take it. Her body was shaking, her face was leaking heat, and her breathing became heavy. She was trying to memorize the route, but her heart was a mess of fire and nerves. Suddenly, she let out a soft groan, her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. She actually fainted. I stared at the screen, feeling incredibly awkward. "That was dramatic," I muttered. I checked her stats. Surprisingly, her affection level didn't drop a single point. It stayed rock solid at 100. Back in my past life, I had always wondered if a 100-point affection rating meant you could do whatever you wanted with a character. Now, I had my answer. I didn't stop, though. If I stopped now, the money I spent would be wasted. I finished guiding the energy through the entire cycle so she could remember the path when she woke up. Actually, she woke up halfway through the second cycle. But she was too embarrassed to open her eyes. She stayed perfectly still, pretending to be unconscious while her face burned. When I finally finished and pulled my hand back, I couldn't help but chuckle. A bit small, but definitely charming, I whispered to myself. It was one of the perks of this Goddess Collector game, after all. Seeing that it was getting late, I checked my inventory. I took out 10 low-grade spirit stones I had earned from her rewards and headed upstairs in my real-world apartment. Back in the game, Ling Qingxue finally opened her eyes. She was drowning in shame. Master said my heart is unstable. I'm so useless, she whispered, covering her face. She felt like she had desecrated my pure intentions with her own wandering thoughts. She quickly rushed to the washroom to clean up and hide her burning face. Meanwhile, in my room, I pulled out the spirit stones. My white tiger cub immediately pounced onto the bed, sniffing them. You want these? I asked. The cub pawed at them but then turned away, unimpressed. It preferred the high-level herbs I'd fed it earlier. It let out a tiny roar and rolled over, showing me its belly. I grinned and rubbed its fur. Don't worry, I'll get you the good stuff soon. This little guy had the earth-shattering bloodline. Once it grew up, it would be a monster on the battlefield. The cub purred and vanished back into the spirit pet space in my phone to sleep. Now it was my turn. I sat down with the stones and began running this spirit transformation art. With these stones, I could finally break through the initial stages of cultivation in the real world. In my past life, I started too late. This time, I was going to be ready. In my past life, Luo Hongxi found a second-grade foundation pill and absorbed 20 spirit stones, yet it still took him half a month to reach the spirit hidden realm. That was considered fast back then. After all, he had a whole company helping him gather resources. I had only been playing for a few days, and I was already entering a meditative state. My progress was lightning fast. But as I started to circulate my energy, my phone suddenly vibrated, and a holographic projection floated into the air. A notification chimed. It detected I was cultivating. Because I had spent over 2 million game coins, I had triggered the VIP Level 1 privileges. The auto-accelerated cultivation function was now active. My cultivation level and secret techniques would now level up automatically. Even better, this accelerated absorption of worldly energy had 0 side effects. The higher my VIP level, the faster I would grow. I checked my 4th grade spirit transformation art. It was already whirring away in the background. What was going on? I quickly tapped the VIP icon in the corner of my screen. The details were simple. Every coin I spent counted toward my VIP rank. 2 million got me level 1. 5 million would get me level 2. But the biggest shock was a new system-wide announcement. Because I had unlocked this feature, the game interface for every single player in the world was updating to show a VIP spending column. I couldn't help but grin. There actually were VIP perks in this game. In my past life, no one was crazy enough to dump 2 million into the game this early. At least, not before I died. The level 1 effect was absolute madness. It allowed for automatic cultivation. While others had to choose between playing the game or meditating, I could do both. I would be cultivating every second of every day, and with a speed boost to boot. It was worth every penny. This would save me months of grinding. My rise to power just hit warp speed. The only downside was that I had to wait for the game to prompt me to spend money. There was no in-game mall yet. I just had to keep buying whatever the game offered. Suddenly, I felt the spirit stones in my hands draining at a terrifying rate. A split second later, my whole body jerked. I gasped. It was happening already. A wave of energy exploded from my chest, rippling through the room and making my clothes flutter like there was a gale force wind. A notification popped up. Congratulations. You have broken through to the 1st level of the spirit initiation realm. Then, a cheeky warning followed. It told me that as my strength increased, the VIP 1 speed boost would start to diminish. It basically said, spend more money to stay strong. Then let me spend it. I muttered, my blood boiling with excitement. I have plenty of cash. I made a mental note right then. From now on, I didn't care if the game offered me useless trash like those silk stockings from before. If it popped up, I was buying it. Anything to level up that VIP status. I looked down at the dull, gray stones in my hands. I had broken through using only 2 spirit stones. It wasn't just about speed. The VIP function was actually more efficient. It drew in massive amounts of natural energy from the surroundings, only dipping into the stones for that final push. As long as I had stones, my breakthrough speed would be legendary. Wait, it was happening again. I felt the energy in my veins start to simmer once more. I quickly pulled every single spirit stone I had out of my inventory. This VIP power was broken. I wondered just how far I could go in a single night. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and let the system take over. Minutes later, the notifications started rolling in like a waterfall. Level 2, Level 5, Level 7. When I finally opened my eyes the next morning, I exhaled a long, cloudy breath. My eyes flickered with a sharp, golden light. I felt like a completely different person compared to yesterday. In one night, I had reached the peak of the 9th level of the Spirit Initiation realm. I squeezed my fists, feeling the raw power coursing through my skin. Being a pay-to-win player felt incredible. I checked my resources. Out of 53 low-grade spirit stones, I was down to 0. I only had 9 mid-grade stones left. I tucked them away in my safe and took a sip of some diluted divine marrow spring water. It didn't just improve my talent. It provided enough energy to keep me full. I wouldn't even need to eat today. Time to send you on your way, Zhou Qiao Qiao, I whispered. Murderous intent flared in my eyes. With my current strength, I was more than ready to handle that woman. If I let her live any longer, she'd only cause more trouble. I needed to move fast and stay off the radar. I opened the game to check on my white fox. It had a flash ability that could get me close to her in seconds. The fox was currently at the 9th level of the spirit gathering realm, busy refining energy. It wasn't quite at the peak yet, which was good. I didn't want it transforming into a human while I was in the middle of a hit. With a thought, I summoned the fox. It appeared on my bed, let out a tiny yawn, and then froze. It stared at me, eyes wide with confusion. It had only napped for a bit, yet its mortal master had suddenly become a powerhouse. White Fox, can you use your flash today? I asked. After a quick mental exchange, I confirmed it could. Its limit was about 1,000 meters per jump, and it could chain a dozen jumps together before tiring. In this world, that was a god-tier movement skill. The fox shivered, its body glowing as it grew in size. It transformed into a massive, majestic beast. It tilted its head, signaling for me to climb on. I'm not light, buddy, I said, carefully mounting its back. It was surprisingly comfortable. I pulled out my phone and showed it a photo. This is the woman. I'm killing her today. Don't get the wrong target. To be safe, I even grabbed a piece of her old clothing from the back of my closet and let the fox catch the scent. The fox let out a sharp huff, blowing the fabric away, and then, in a blur of white light, we vanished from the room. Meanwhile, across the city in the Zhou family office, Zhou Qiao was lounging on a sofa, barking into her phone. Qin Shirtong, I'm telling you, quit Xinyun's company and come work for me, she said coldly. I need a capable secretary. She let out a cruel laugh. To be honest, that team recruiting players outside your office? Those are my people. Xinyun doesn't even care about the company anymore. He's too busy playing games. Why are you still holding on? Since the game launched, every major corporation was headhunting. If a player had a high-tier character or useful skills, their salary tripled overnight. But Xinyun hadn't offered any bonuses, and his employees were getting restless. Zhou Qiao had already poached dozens of them. She wasn't afraid of him. Miss Zhou, the voice on the other end replied, whatever drama you have with your ex-boyfriend has nothing to do with me. There's no need to turn Tunglong Corporation into a complete mess, is there? The voice on the other end of the phone was sharp and hostile. We aren't playing around this time, Zhou Qiao replied with a cold, mocking laugh. It's a real breakup. If you won't come work for me, fine. She slammed the phone down and turned toward the man sitting in the boss's chair, her older brother, Zhou Hao. He was busy playing the game, but she didn't care. She put on a pleading pout. Big brother, she whined. You're a team leader at the Tianjiao Club. Can't you use the back door to get me in? I knew all about the Tianjiao Club. It was a massive player organization. You couldn't just join. You either needed a prodigy, rank character, or incredible natural talent in the real world. Members shared resources both in and out of the game. It was started by wealthy second-generation heirs in the capital, and with the game's growing importance, its influence had spread everywhere, even here in Haiqing. Zhou Hao had secured a team leader position because of his character's high potential. That was exactly why he felt brave enough to provoke me. His father had spent years building connections with cultivators, and they didn't fear a newbie like me anymore. To them, my company, Tunglong Group, was just a dying giant. With the club's backing, I was nothing in their eyes. Zhou Hao looked at his sister with a doting smile. Just work a little harder. Once my contribution points are high enough, I'll ask the captain to let you in. Yay, you're the best, brother. Zhou Qiao cheered, stepping forward to massage his shoulders. The cozy family moment didn't last. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, I said. The two of them froze. They snapped their heads toward the sound of my voice. I was standing right there in the middle of the office. Beneath me, my two-tailed white fox had grown to the size of a tiger, its eyes glowing with a predatory chill as it stared them down. Is that a beast pet? Zhou Hao stammered, his face pale. He was terrified. The beast pets people posted about in the club group chats were barely half a meter long. As for mounts, no one in the entire club had found one yet. I saw the raw jealousy burning in the back of his eyes. No wonder you don't care about the company anymore, Zhou Qiao hissed, the realization hitting her. You've been hiding this. You found some kind of massive opportunity, didn't you? She was quick. She realized I was about to rise to the top, and her expression shifted instantly. Her eyes turned red, and she looked at me with a face full of heartbreak. Shenyun, how could you break up with me like that? She screamed, her voice trembling with fake emotion. Do you have any idea how much I love you? Do you know how much you hurt me? I almost wanted to applaud. Her acting was still top tier. In my past life, she loved role-playing, often hiring makeup artists to make her look like different celebrities just to keep me hooked. I used to drink wolfberry tea just to keep up with her performances. But behind that beautiful face was a heart of pure poison. Damn it. How does he know she's faking? Zhou Hao muttered. He glanced at the security camera in the corner. The light was white, meaning it was recording. He puffed out his chest, trying to look imposing. I'm warning you, don't be stupid. I'm a member of the Tianjiao Club. If you touch us, your little background won't be enough to save you. The Tianjiao Club? I raised my soul-breaking drill, aiming it straight at him. You can form a team with them in hell. In my previous life, she used the club's connections to crush me. This time, I was settling the debt early. Zip, a silver bolt of spiritual energy shot from the drill. It moved like lightning, slamming directly into Zhou Hao's forehead. Ah! His scream was horrific. Zhou Qiao shivered as she watched her brother collapse. She tried to catch him, but when she saw the blood pouring from his eyes, she realized he was already dead. Ma! She shrieked, recoiling as if she'd been electrocuted. She scrambled backward, tripping over her own feet. I nudged the white fox forward. The beast growled, closing the distance as I raised the drill again. She looked like her heart was about to burst from pure terror. Hubby, I'm your Qiao, she sobbed, her voice cracking. Don't kill me. I'll be good, I promise. I know I was wrong. Please. You don't know you were wrong, I said coldly. You just know you're about to die. I pressed the button. Zip, the silver light hit her square in the head. She felt like her brain was exploding. Blood sprayed from her eyes, nose, and ears as she let out one final, gurgling scream. A moment later, she slumped to the floor, her body twitching once before going still. Her eyes remained wide open, staring at me with a mix of blood and confusion. Even in death, she couldn't understand why I had turned so heartless. Finally, the debt was paid. Looking at the two corpses, I felt a wave of pure relief wash over me. In my past life, I had dreamed of this moment every single night. Now, I could breathe again. I heard movement outside the door. I patted the fox's neck, and in a flash of light, we vanished from the office. Why were they screaming so loud? An elderly cleaning lady muttered outside. She pushed the door open to check on the manager. She took one look and screamed, her face turning white as she stumbled back. Dead. They're dead. The managers are dead. While the building descended into chaos, I was sitting in a quiet cafe outside the headquarters. The door swung open, and a woman in a professional black suit rushed in. She looked around frantically before spotting me and marching over. Boss, do you even want this company anymore? Qin Shirtong snapped. She was fuming. Qin Shirtong was my executive secretary. She was brilliant, a top graduate from Haiqing's best university, and I had given her a lot of power. But with the game merging with reality, the world was changing fast. The board of directors was useless, and I, the majority shareholder, had gone missing and blocked everyone's calls. I looked at her and smiled. It had been a long time. In my past life, she was the one who warned me when the authorities were coming for me, allowing me to escape the city. Because of that, Zhou Qiao had tracked her down, broke her teeth, snapped her arm, and forced her to flee for her life. "Boss, how can you laugh right now?" she asked, dropping into the chair across from me. "What happened with you and Zhou Qiao? Even if you broke up, you shouldn't let her ruin the company. Half our staff left to join her player studio. Is this some kind of act to weed out disloyal people?" I realized then that Zhou Qiao hadn't been using her family name to recruit. She didn't want the employees thinking it was a game between lovers. She wanted to dismantle my life brick by brick. "From now on, you're the acting CEO of Tunglong Group," I said, standing up. "I'll give you a market rate salary and a share of the company stocks. You and the team handle everything. I'm just here to collect the profits." She blinked, stunned. "Anyway," I continued, "come with me. I need to buy some new clothes." I had no interest in wasting time managing company resources for my own growth. I had plenty of money now. Managing a business was a distraction I didn't need. Giving Qin Shitong such a massive promotion was my way of repaying her for the loyalty she showed me in my past life. "Acting CEO?" She looked completely dazed. I was already walking out of the coffee shop before she could process the news. She scrambled to catch up with me, her heels clicking on the pavement. "Boss, I don't think I have the ability," she called out. At Tunglong Group's scale, an acting CEO's salary was over $1 million a year. With the stock options included, it was like a gift from the heavens. But she was just a secretary. She felt the weight of the responsibility immediately. I stopped and looked at her, my expression serious. "Do you know why I made you my executive secretary and gave you so much authority?" I asked. She looked at me, searching my face for a joke. She didn't find one. She sighed, looking helpless. "Honestly, I used to think you just wanted to sleep with me," she muttered. "Now I see you really just hate managing the company." There was a common office joke about us. People said the secretary does the work when there is work, and the boss does the secretary when there isn't. She had heard those rumors for a long time. Now she realized I actually trusted her ability to run the show while I played the role of the hands-off owner. "As long as you understand," I said with a light smile. "Work hard. There is no reason to turn down money." I gestured toward the parking lot. "Let's go. Drive me to the commercial district. Baihu is going to transform into her human form soon, and I need to buy her some suitable clothes." "I'll do my best," she said, finally accepting the position. Nobody turns down a fortune like that. Meanwhile, in the Xintian continent, Ling Qingxue stood on the deck of a massive flying ship. She gazed at the city appearing on the horizon. "It's a shame I can't kill that old hag with my own hands yet," she whispered. Her expression was frustrated. Her physique was incredibly powerful, but it required a staggering amount of resources to fuel. Her cultivation progress was steady but slow. She didn't know how long it would take to reach a level where she could personally execute Lu Fangya. If the woman heard news of her arrival and fled, it would be a lifelong regret. An elderly woman leaning on a cane stood beside her. This was Su Yi, an ancestor of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. The sect had assigned her as Ling Qingxue's protector. Having a saint-level expert guard a disciple from the very beginning showed exactly how much the sect valued her. The elders already knew about Ling Qingxue's past. Seeing her restless these past few days, Su Yi assumed she was just consumed by the need for revenge. "Once this is settled, you can focus on your cultivation," Su Yi said gently. Ling Qingxue shook her head. "Actually, I have something more important to do. It might delay my progress even further." She turned and bowed deeply to the old woman. "I hope you and the sacred ground can forgive me," she said. Everything she had was given to her by me. To her, finding items to increase my favorability was her top priority. Cultivation could wait. As long as she stayed by my side, she was safe. But she felt guilty about letting the sect's expectations down. Su Yi didn't ask for an explanation. She smiled and patted Ling Qingxue's hand. "Whether we cultivate for strength, longevity, or revenge, we do it to keep our hearts clear," the old woman said. "Don't worry. Jade Lake won't blame you. Just follow your heart." "Thank you, Granny," Ling Qingxue said, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. "I'll still practice whenever I have a spare moment." "That's enough for me," Su Yi laughed. A moment later, Su Yi blurred through the air, bringing Ling Qingxue into a quiet courtyard within the city. The small yard was filled with rare flowers and exotic herbs. In the center, a middle-aged woman in black robes was sorting through medicinal plants. This was Lu Fangya. She lived here in hiding, blending into the mundane world. Sensing someone's presence, Lu Fangya's face paled. She looked up and saw the jade lake robes first. Her heart skipped a beat. Then, her eyes landed on Ling Qingxue. Terror and shock washed over her. Her voice trembled as she backed away. You joined the Jade Lake Sacred Ground? She couldn't believe it. The girl she had once treated as nothing more than a human ingredient for a pill had found such a massive destiny. Lu Fangya, it's been a long time, Ling Qingxue said. She walked forward slowly and sat down across from her. She reached out, idly toyed with the herbs on the table, and looked the woman in the eye. I've come to settle our debt.